one of my personal favorite pieces of card magic that I do. And this is kind of the piece of magic that I bring, especially when I have somebody who is kind of aggressive. Oh, here, show me a trick. Because it is a one-phase routine. It gets straight to the point, and the magic happens in their hands. And so it's going to be a little bit difficult to go through it as a performance piece right now, but I'll explain kind of what the process is and what the concept and what the audience will experience. And then hopefully you'll be able to recreate this on your own side as well. So what the experience is that the audience member gets a chance to shuffle the cards. They take half the pack, go through the pack, and keep one card face down out of the entire pack, and you do the same at the same time. And when you flip both packs over, you guys end up having the matching cards. And what's
absolutely will, because they're holding, everyone should be holding cards. You could probably walk them through the process, mirror image to you, and just tell them at the end that is a force card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll walk through. I'll walk through the process for everybody, so you can experience kind of what the process is, what the audience would have. So take about half your pack, and you as the audience member, you would have half the pack, and me as the magician, I would have half the pack.
Which hand would that be in for them?
They would be holding it in their left hand. Yep, so hold the deck of cards in your left hand, and I'll go through the process. So they would hold the cards in their left hand, just like I'm here with the right, and spread through the cards until you find a spot where you're happy about in the center, and divide it into two separate packs, just like I am here. And we'll square up the cards so we don't accidentally drop anything. The cards in your left hand, turn them all face up. Use your thumb to push over the one card face down inside the pack. The rest of the cards, turn them face up and place it on top just like that. All right, so that is what your audience member and you will both be doing at the same time. And when you flip over the cards, they will be matching cards. So the 7 of spades to the 7 of clubs. And I'm going to go over a little bit how to convince your audience member to force the card on themselves. It's probably my favorite force that I do. I use this all the freaking time because I think it's a really powerful method, especially since it happens in their hand. So what happens is the audience member shuffles their deck of cards, just like that. And while you're speaking with them, all that you need to do is peek the top card, the 6 of hearts, right? And then what happens is when you're dividing the deck in half for you to have half and them to have half, you just divide it at the other 6 of hearts. So while you're speaking with them, you spread through the cards until you find the 6 of diamonds. And then that's where you divide it. Now, if the 2 packs aren't quite equal like this, you can say, all right, we have about 2 equal packs. They'll say no. And so, oh, we'll add a couple cards, right? So now we're in the position where both the packs have a red 6 on top of it, just like that. All right? So the situation is the audience member can now choose either pack that they want, and there is no difference whatsoever between the 2 packs because they both are in the same position. They both have the red 6 on the top. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the 6 of hearts face up while I do this sequence so you can see how I'm forcing the top card on myself as well as the audience member. So when I tell them to spread through the cards just like this, they stop wherever they want, and I have them square up the cards, right? So now we have, this is the top of the pack. I tell them to take the pack that is in their left hand, the bottom half where the actual center is, and I tell them to turn it face up. Now in this process, it confuses the audience member because what they will remember is just one card is face down. So now we're in this position, the 6 of hearts is on top. I tell them to push the card over on top like this, and I have them flip over the rest of the pack. So now they've just taken the top card of their pack and put it in the center of their deck. And what's fantastic about this routine, afterwards you can say, let's go for what happened. You shuffled the cards, correct? They say yes. You chose which pack they wanted to work with. That's correct as well. They stopped where they wanted to stop. That is correct. And a real subtle piece of linguistics there is, and I haven't touched your cards at all, have I? And what's fantastic about that just little subtle piece of language is that the cards become their possession. They possess the cards after they chose which of the 2 packs they chose, right? So it only becomes possessive to the audience member after that moment. So even though I did handle the cards, which allowed me to put the force card on both packs, because of the fact that I say, I didn't touch your cards at all, did I? I already did the move before that happened. And so the possessive doesn't become theirs until after the move has happened. And so the answer to that is yes as well. And then that one moment where the 2 6s match and it happened in their hands and I never touched the cards is a really fantastic and strong piece of magic, which, you know, fries people. It absolutely is a fantastic piece of magic. And I use it especially when I'm out busking out on the street, when I have somebody who is kind of coming up and being a little aggressive, wanting to kind of show off for the ladies that he's with. Oh, here, come on, show me a trick. And I just do a single piece of magic that will have the greatest effect on them. And I say, you know what? I can show you other tricks, but I can't show you better. And the reason why I only do one and done, I don't want to get into a contest with this person. I want to just fry them and then pass my hat at that moment, because the more tricks that I do after the first one, I get diminishing return on every trick afterwards that I do. So it's this kind of thing of I do one piece of magic, I completely, you know, blow their mind, and I say, thank you very much. You won't see anything better. And then many times when I've done that, I've gotten a $20 tip from that person because I fooled them so badly. They don't want to look bad in front of the people that they are with. So they try and get the status back by, oh, what can I get one over on this street performer? Oh, I have money. They don't. Bam, here's 20 bucks. Look at how wealthy I am. And that's a little bit of psychological subtlety with this routine. I'm not able to, whoop, oh, I almost lose everything there. So I don't know if I can see the chat.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it for you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Song? You could type it, or you could just speak up.
Any other busking tips? Well, let's see here. This is the best busking tip that I can share with you. This busking tip has made me hundreds, if not a couple $1,000s. And the tip that I say is, in every show that you have, choose 3 different people in your audience, ask them their names, and make sure that every time that you refer to them, use their names and refer to them multiple times. Because here's kind of what's going on with this. What makes money as a street busker is being able to make an emotional connection with somebody. You know, the tricks are fantastic, but we want to be able to have this emotional one-on-one connection. And so the reason why I choose 3 people, memorize their names, and reuse their names is because each time I use a person's name, I'm pulling their attention. So if they're kind of away, bam, now they're part of the show. Bam, now they're part of the show. And many people have the experience of meeting somebody, and within 5 seconds, we've forgotten their name already. It's a very common practice. And so what this does, it creates an experience for these 3 people, but I actually care deeply about them, because remembering somebody's name is kind of an intimate experience, and it shows a little bit of extra effort to be willing to put in time to remember this person's name. And what the goal of this is to create such a warm connection with them through this, that instead of throwing $1 into my hat, they'll throw a $5 bill. Because the difference between a $1 and a $5 bill is really not very much ultimately. But if I do that every show, that's made me $12 additional every show, right? And if I'm only doing 1 show an hour, that's an additional minimum wage just by remembering 3 people's names. Now, you know, there's other tricks to be able to create this emotional connection with people. And the big thing that you have to overcome is that you're a stranger and that this is the first time that you've met many of these people. So there's a little bit of hesitance, and especially currently with COVID-19, there's additional fears going on. Right now is not a really good time to be doing busking shows asking for the money unless you put together kind of a drive-through busking show, which I've seen many people do and be quite fantastic at. But you know, the big thing that you need to overcome is I'm not some crazy person, and I actually matter and I care about you. So using people's names, just 3 of them. I mean, if you can get up to 5, you know, that's another potential $10 right there that you're making. So when I tried following along, yeah. Yeah, you're very welcome here. Yeah, good busking tips. Super powerful. Oh yeah, where am I? Where am I located? I'm located in Las Vegas, originally from Minnesota. So, yes. All right. So for John, what happens when the mate is at the top and the bottom of the pack? That is a very good question. So let's put ourselves into that situation here, just to show you. So here's what happens. So let's say they shuffled the deck of cards, and I have the seven of hearts on the top of the pack, and I spread through, and oh no, the very early on in the pack, where was it? I just put it on the bottom here. Very early on the pack, the seven of diamonds pops up. This is what I do. I push over that card, I put it on the top, and then instead of dealing straight through, I divide the pack, and I just add the rest of the cards to the bottom of the pack until they're about even. So let me do that. Let me do that one more time for you. So I do the glimpse, and how I do the glimpse is normally I get the cards back from them, and I take a step back, and with my pointer finger, I just tip out the card a little bit, and I make eye contact with them, and I say, so is this your first time doing magic? Have you ever done magic before? And while that's going on, I'm moving the deck of cards close and far to me, so it's coming in and out of focus for me, and I can see that that's the seven of hearts. And I'm doing it with my hands, kind of doing this motion. Have you ever done magic before? And I get the glimpse of the seven of hearts. They'll very often say no. It's like, perfect, you're going to do some magic for all these people right now. Is the performance of this online? What I will do is I will make the performance of this available online. I did it once with Kent, but we'll just do it again. And I'll get a person and we'll film it so you can see the actual film location, and we'll send that directly to you guys so you can see it. And I'll do a step-by-step video of that just for you guys. So I won't release it anywhere else in that forum. That'll be just for your guys' club there. So with the card being on the bottom again, am I in frame right now, Kent?
Yeah, I believe you are.
Cool. So what happens, I push through, I see that the seven is right there early on. I pull it off, and then I just add the rest of the cards to the bottom of the pack until they're about even, just like that. And that gets me into this situation where the seven is on top and on the bottom. Also, if the two sevens are very close to the top, let's say we're in this situation, right? So I spread through, oh no, I'm talking, it's not there. I finally find the seven up top, and I say, perfect, all right, we have two equal packs, yes? And sometimes they'll say yes just because they're used to going along. If they say yes, I'm like, no, these clearly aren't equal. Don't just go along with it because I'm forcing you. These aren't equal. So we'll add a couple cards, and I just add cards from the bottom.
That's nice.
To the other pack. So we're back into that same situation again. So we have the seven on top of both of these. So yeah. So those are any other questions? I don't want to eat up everybody else's time here, going through these street busking. So
hey, could you run it one more time? Just cue to cue, please.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. So first step, what I do, let me get back into proper frame here. So I go, hey, we're going to do a little bit of magic here. And I hand them the deck of cards, and go ahead, give the deck of cards a shuffle. And the audience member shuffles the cards, just like that. 1 and 2 to their heart's content. And I take the cards back, and I go ahead, I get my little peek right here. So I have my peek right now. I see that it's the Queen of Spades. And I say, have you ever performed magic before? Is this your first time? Yes, no? All right, perfect. You're going to be performing a little bit of magic for everybody here, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that this works out. So we just go ahead and spread through until we find the
Looks like your screen went out.
Yep, it did. I just got a call from my boss right now that I really should take. So we have the queen on top of both these sections, just like that.
He's got to take that. He'll come back to us in a minute.
I'll come back. I'm sorry. I have to take this. I'll talk to you guys later.
Take the call.
Yep.
Yes. Secret location in Las Vegas. There's a call from his boss. Anyway, so that's a great trick. Actually, if you guys want, I know the trick pretty well. I can run you through the handling. So if you were the spectator right now, actually, let me switch my camera here. All right. So, I'm lucky I wore pants. Oh, you guys are lucky I wore pants, actually.
Uh,
So if you guys were the spectator right now, what would happen is the cards would be shuffled, and then handed back. So peeking the top card. I've got the match for the card pretty close to the top there. So I might, for me, I might call it, and then try to get about half the cards in each, whatever. So now you have approximately half, or you can do the thing where you add more. But either way, both mates on top, right? And then you say, which pack do you want to use? The one you choose is the one you use. They choose, let's say, this one, and then you guide them through this process. And now Will does this left-handed, and most people are right-handed, so it would feel natural for them to hold the deck in their left hand, so that's good. So you put it in your right hand, you say, mirror image me. They put it in their right hand, and then you walk them through this process. Spread the cards from one end to the other, just like this, until you feel an urge to stop. When you stop, you'll separate the cards into 2 different packets, and we'll square them up so we don't drop anything. Now, flip the cards in your left hand over, so they're face up. Now deal the one card over here that you stopped at right onto the face of the card there. Keep it face down and push it forward, because we're going to isolate it by flipping these cards over too and placing them right there. And so now if that person has gone through that process, they will be in this position. Right? Then to finish up, you explain what a matching card is, and this one you can turn yours first, I guess, or theirs first, depending on your style, and show a 6 of diamonds here and a 6 of hearts here. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was clear. How was that? Any other questions on that? Oh, Will's coming back in right now. We can ask him directly. Oh, I did want to say, while Will is joining up, if you have more questions about busking, anything at all, Will is an amazing resource. And if you guys have a sec while we're doing this, or if you find yourself, wanting to click around on something, I'm putting a link in the chat right now that you can click on that shows you Will's page on MagicFlix. Will's page is entirely populated by busking tips. So he's got this like, I think it's like 9 or 10 videos. All of them are 3 tips on busking on a very particular topic. So one is like building a crowd, keeping a crowd, all of that stuff that we might be able to do with each other someday if they'll ever let us out of our house. So, Will, it looks like you're back. He is not back. Oh, let me let him in again. Maybe having trouble there. Yep, so you guys can click on that link so we could see the push from behind. Yes. Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
Will,
I'm back. Sorry about that.
I was able to demonstrate the trick for you again, but now that you're here, we'll do any more questions and then we'll move on.
Yeah, fantastic. Sorry about having to step out. Certain people call and you have to answer it. So if there's any other questions about the move,
can you spotlight him?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me spotlight him.
Yeah, fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, it's the reason why I love this trick as well. I have a very specific job, which is magic related, which I am under contractual obligations not to speak about.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I sent that link just to Gary. Now I've sent it to everyone 3 times in a row. All right. There.
Cool.
And if you actually do want to watch those videos, you can take a free 30-day trial with the password magic, or with the promo code magic. So anyway, check it out. Anyway, go ahead, Will.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a contract with a particular, with Magic out here in Las Vegas. So so that was just that. I needed to take that quick phone call. But yeah, I've been full-time Magic in the Magic world, gosh, I guess for the last 7 years. I've done 2 tours of China. I've performed at the Magic Castle with Jeff McBride as well as Xavier Mortimer. And that's kind of, what I do now. And I study a lot of Magic history And my origins come from street busking. So I was originally a street performer, which is why I was specifically talking about why I use this as street performing, because, you know, back before COVID hit, you know, you could easily, you know, make $250, $300 working as a street performer. Yeah, Xavier is incredible. Doing street performing. How long does my busking set last? My average busking set lasted about 20 minutes because I had a 30-minute turnover. So, and then depending, to answer Dale's question, so there's two different types of busking sets that I've done. I've done one which is a big circle show where I can stop about, I'd say probably 200 people. And for that, I do, for my finale, a 100-foot rope escape, as well as Bill into Impossible Location. And I do that out on the Fremont Street Experience because I can build big crowds there, and I can do a big show, take a break, do a big show, take a break. When I'm working tighter venues where there's not as much space, I set up my table, and I actually put together a 7-trick set, which each one of them could be a closer, if that makes sense. So I do my card trick here. I do a chop cup with that set as well. I do Shutagawa's ninja rings and that set. I do sponge balls with an 8 sponge ball load. And the reason why I do that is that that I can try and keep a continual circle of people coming and going. So I do a light pass of the hat at the end of each of the tricks, so I can have people give me money for what they see and then continue on. And I say, hey, thank you for watching the shows. You guys just watched up. Let me do something special just for you guys, and then do another trick. And the goal of that show is just to keep a continuous group of like 15 people sitting in front of me watching me do my set, because otherwise you can kind of sit there and nervously shuffle cards and people will walk past. And the worst feeling in the world is trying to stop people and say, hey, do you want to see some magic? As they're walking past. Kent, I don't know if you remember, it was probably about 10 years ago. I went out to New York to visit you when you were living there. And I did street busking there, and I got stopped by the New York Police Department because busking wasn't quite legal on Times Square, and they said, oh, here, if you go 1 block further off, you know, we won't bother you. And right. It got real real questionable real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ninja ring routine that I perform is Shutagawa's ninja ring routine. The video of it is online. It is not mine to teach. It is not my original material, but I only do about half of his routine. But it's a fantastic close-up routine. I don't have the rings with me right now to be able to demonstrate that set. But if you just search Shutagawa Ninja Rings routine, you can watch that online. It's a fantastic routine. I'm guessing that Gary just put the link. Perfect, fantastic. Yeah, shoot stuff is, Michael O'Brien's stuff is fantastic. Oh my God. I actually just recently was watching Michael O'Brien's chop cup in the hand routine, where he does a strolling chop cup routine in the audience member's hand. So he uses their hand as the table for it. And it's so fantastic because he has this great pass where he does a false transfer and then pops the ball, what the audience thinks, right through their hand. And in the process of him hitting the bottom of their hand, it dislodges the magnetic ball from the top of the chop cup. And so they feel his hand hit theirs, and then feel the ball in their hand. It's so good. Michael O'Brien's material is great as well.
Rings is next level, and we actually have his Ninja Rings Plus on the website too. So check that out. I just linked his oh wait, that wasn't, I didn't mean to link that YouTube thing, whatever that was.
Yeah. I'm actually very good friends with Kim Silverman, John. So I've seen Kim's presentation on the.
My bad.
Yeah, so I've seen Kim Silverman's presentation many times. I I showed Kim Silverman a move that he hadn't seen before because he's doing a definitive work last time I spoke with him on the ninja rings routine because he does it all the time. And I had a little piece where you could have them rest their finger on top of the ring and then you link it through. So there's the ring that is right here. You have them balance their finger on top of that ring and then you link the ring right through. And what happens with how Shutagawa's routine is, the ring pushes through and they feel it actually touch their finger where they were balancing and touching the ring. So the experience for them is that they're touching the ring and they feel the moment it passes right through the metal. It's a really stellar piece. And I think Kim is going to be publishing that move that I had there as well.
Nice.
But Michael O'Brien's piece there is fantastic as well. Yeah.
So, so I want to be aware of everyone's time. I don't know how long you guys normally go. And, but I mean, I can stay here until tomorrow about 7 p.m.
Yep.
But probably not quite the same with everybody else. So
yeah, so I should probably stop hogging everybody's attention and time because you have some.
Like that, Will. Where can we support you? Where can we support you? How do we support Will?
Well, I would say the best way to support me and what I do is actually by supporting MagicFlix. I help do some of the back end work for MagicFlix through there. So go ahead, make use of the month-long subscription that Kent has given out to you guys. I have more videos on street busking there, and I'm going to be releasing more material there soon. And you can also check me out at themagicofwill.com and check me out on Facebook as well. Send me a friend request, and I love jamming magic with all of the club members.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Will.
It is my delight and pleasure. I hope you guys have a great rest of your lecture. I have to go back to my secret location where I am right now, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you guys again soon, all right?
All right. Thanks a lot, Will. See you later.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that was fun. So what a great trick. That's an amazing trick and great tips from Will. So what I'd like to do is bring on a mentalist now. I've tried to find a video online that was appropriate, Watkins, but I couldn't find one. So I'm just going to give the intro myself. This guy, I met him in New York, in New York City. I was sitting in a cafe working on something or other with a friend of mine, and my roommate and friend, Warren Thackeray, walks in with this guy on his tail, this mentalist, looked very mentalisty at the time. And he comes in and he's filming for I assume it was something that he was going to release, and they were doing that numbers game thing where, the magician just walks around in public places and just tries to find as many people to perform this thing as possible to get the right reaction for the video. But the cool thing was, as far as I could tell, they got the right reaction every single time. This guy's work is absolutely stellar. He's written now 3 books on mentalism, and originally Jhana, then also Positive Negative, which I have a few copies left, which you should tell them about, Watkins. And then also Shadow Play is coming out, so you can pre-order that if you like his work, and you will like his work. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, show the visual love, whatever it is, for Watkins.
All right. Oops. Let me wait. All right. Yeah. Now I got it unmuted. Yeah. All right. Yo. So, hey everybody. Thank you all so much. My name's Watkins, and I am a mentalist from New York. And I'm gonna teach here 2 different mentalism ideas. One of them is a verbal deception, and the other one is going to be a billet switch. And both of them have to do with something that's very important to me, which is implication, which is a way of getting the audience to fool themselves, right? Because if you can get them to tell the lie to their own self, then it's a lot more deceptive in that way. And you'll know what I mean here in a second. So the billet switch here is something that I call the accidental switch. And the reason why is because it looks like it was an accident. Because if something looks like it's an accident, then it kind of flies underneath the radar. And it's good for pre-show, and it's good for real time. And what you'll end up wanting to do is you want to get 2 billets. So if you guys happen to have like some blank business cards or any kind of pieces of paper that you could fold up into quarters here, then you could follow along with me. But it's so simple and so easy that just by looking at it, you'll see the mechanics are, you know, very easy to do. So let's imagine.
This is a great switch, by the way. This is like one of 3 billet switches I do.
Right, yeah. Kent uses this a lot, and I've actually seen him use it in some very miraculous situations too. Like, yeah, to say the least. And I mean, like I say, it's great for pre-show, and it's great for real time as well. So let's say that your
cards folded up into quarters or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'll let you guys get some time to fold them up. And what's really going on here is it's not even so much about the mechanics or the move that's going on here as much as what you say and how you present it. And so yeah, so basically, let's imagine that you were performing for somebody and you ask them to think of any piece of information. It could be a name, a date, or a number, or whatever it is. They write it down on a piece of paper. You hand them the pen and the billet. They go ahead and write that down. In the meantime, you're going to go into your pocket and palm a dummy. This is what's called a dummy billet. This is what you're going to be switching in for the real billet. Whenever they're done, what you want to do is you want to hold your hand out and you're going to say to them, I'd like you to give me that back. Now, that's an ambiguous instruction. So they actually don't know if they're supposed to hand you the piece of paper back or the pen, and most of the time they're going to hand you both. So when they hand you both, your hand's going to be like this. You say, I'd like you to give me that back. They hand you both. Immediately take the palmed billet here and then say, oh no, I just meant the pen. Here, I want you to take this and hold on to it. And right in that moment, you've done what's basically kind of a like false transfer type thing, where you have the palm billet here. You're going over their billet. This is the dummy. This is theirs. You go over it, and then you're going to grab both here in this hand. This is where theirs is. And you say, no, I just meant the pen. I want you to take this and hold on to it. So just in that quick motion right there, it's like, oh, no, I just meant for you to give me the pen. You take this, and then the pen and their billet will actually immediately go back into your pocket right there. So you just stole it right in that motion. And the reason why this is so deceptive is because it feels like it was an accident on their part. Like they feel like they did something wrong. You can even say something like, you know, oh no, I didn't want to touch this. Here, take that back. So if you say that and it seems like it was an accident on their part, the entire memory of them ever handing you that billet disappears in their mind. All right, so wait, slow motion above camera so we can see the switch, please. Okay, so you're in this situation. They've handed you both the pen and the billet back. You have the dummy right here. You're going to go over, and you're basically using this to go over that, and then you're taking both their billet and the pen and then pushing this out into view, and then you can point at it like this and then say, here, you take that back. While this pen and their billet go straight into the pocket, right? So once it is in their pocket.
Essentially a false take. You do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a false take, right? Yeah, it's just like a coin move, you know, you just go, but like I say, the most important thing is how you present it, is that you have to present it as if it was an error on their part for them ever giving it to you. Like whenever you say, give me that back, you make it seem as though all you wanted was the pen for them to hold on to this. And as far as reading that information that you steal, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. But one of my preferred ways is to unfold the billet that you stole against a stack of other blank business cards. You can unfold it in your pocket like this and then bring it out and start to pretend like you're writing whatever the revelation is. Wait, what if they only hand you the pen or the billet? Well, in that situation, actually, I'll go ahead and just because you asked that question, I'll show you a different way that you could switch the billet. This is my backup move. Well, before I do that, I am going to explain what I was just saying. You unfold it against the stack, and you'll be able to read their information as you're writing, and then you could be like, oh, no, I meant to write something else, and then write what theirs is and reveal it that way. That's a classic way of a switch and read method. But let's say, that's a good question, whoever asked that. Let's say that they did hand you just the pin back because they didn't want to hand you the billet. Because you're already in the situation where you have this palmed right here, the dummy, what you'll do is you'll take the pin and hold it here. And now this is a Barry Richardson switch, and it's definitely one of my favorite switches of all time. And I'll try to go over this pretty quickly, but I mean, it's simple, but it's hard to practice. But if you can get it right, it looks really good. Once you get the pin back from them, you'll say, and also real quick, I just want you, and you take it from them. I don't even ask them for it. I just take it from them, and I hold it right here. This is the one that they wrote on. In fact, just to signify which one they wrote on, I'm going to put an X on here real quick. So you can see this is the one that they actually wrote the information on. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. There's something wrong with my camera here, but yeah. This is the one they actually wrote on. You'll say, I just want you to verify, and I get it into this grip here between my first and second fingers right here. Just verify that you can't see what's written inside there. And I turn my head this way, and I let them tell the audience that you can't see what's written in there. I say, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and keep this folded up, and I just want you to hold on to that. Now, in that motion, I just did the switch. It's very, very quick, and it's very deceptive as well. So here's what's actually going on. You have the palm dummy here. You have the pin here. You have the billet that they wrote on right there. In fact, I'll hold it like this. And now what you're going to end up doing is you're going to take the pin. Is this going to be recorded by any chance, Ken?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't have to, like, it won't be posted. It's just for, like, the archives.
Well, no, I meant just so they can watch it back again so they can see the actual moves here because, you know.
I can post it.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm recording it right now.
Either way, yeah, just because it's hard to go over it once and then people get it. You know, you got to kind of look at it a couple times. But yeah, sure. This is the one they wrote on. You take the pin. You're going to put it in between your first and your thumb and your first finger. And then you're going to take the dummy. You're going to lift it up like this in a hinge fashion, like that. Insert this one. This is the one they wrote on. And then you're going to use these fingers to palm that one as the thumb and first finger grab this one and then bring it out like that. So it should look like you just gave it a crease. So look, you can actually see the X there and you can see how quick that looks. It should look like you're just creasing the billet and then you can hand it back to them. So basically the presentation is you can't see what's written in there, right? All right, perfect. So keep this folded up and I just want you to hold on to it. And you can see how quick that switch is and how deceptive it is actually. So you can hand that back to them and then you're back in the same situation. So that's what I do whenever they don't hand me both the pin and the billet. But the preferred situation is to do the original idea, like I say. And most, like 9 times, I mean, Kent's actually even probably performed this more than I have ever since I've told him that. And how many times have you not gotten both of them? Yeah, so both almost every time they're going to hand you both of them, especially if one of the ways I get them to hand me both of them is to be like, go ahead and give me that back. And I'll like give this motion, like, you know, as if it's a nonverbal way of saying, give me everything back.
Or it's a way of saying, hurry up too.
Yeah, it's a way of saying, hurry up. And then they hand you both of these things and you say, oh no, I just meant the pin. Here, you take that. And then it's done. So that's a really cool billet switch you can do. And it's great if you're doing any kind of pre-show stuff. Because if you're going to be doing something later on in your actual stage show, it's really great because that whole memory just completely disappears from their mind. Like they totally forget.
It one more time over the shoulder or turn around.
Yeah.
And then just in slight slow motion.
Both switches, I'll go ahead and do the same way. So here's the first one. This is the accidental switch, and hopefully you can see the X there. You say, no, I actually meant for you to give me the pin. You take this. Do that one more time. So you'll be in this situation like that, and then give it back to them. The other switch from the other angle, you can see the X there. This is the one they wrote on. Here's the pin. You say, I just want you to keep this Can't really see it, but keep this folded up. And here, you take that back. Do that one more time as well. Nope, try it. I'm trying to get it to where you guys can see it. And then like that. Then there you go. So hopefully that was helpful. So yeah, so those are two cool little billet switches that I use all the time. And the next thing I wanted to talk about here was not a switch or any kind of billet move, but something you can add on to any kind of billet routine, where, especially for center tears, I think this is the best. I'm not going to teach a center tear, but let's say that you had a billet and you handed it to somebody and you asked them to write down the name of somebody important to them. And let's say you did a center tear where you tore the billet and you were able to peek the information and see the name. And just for the sake of example, let's say that they wrote down the name like Bob on there, something very simple. After you've torn the billet, this is what I call the difficult ploy. This is just a verbal ploy that you can use to imply that they have an infinite amount of options after the switch was already done. So we just saw Bob, we tore it up, and you say, you know what? In case you're thinking of a name that's very difficult to guess, I'd like you to change your mind to any other name that you can, but don't give your thought process away. So what that does is it forces them to stick to the name that they were on because it was actually a very simple name, but it implies to the audience and to them that they could have changed their mind. And the reason why that works is because they wrote down a simple name and they don't know that I know what that name is at this point. But if I tell them, in case you wrote down or are thinking of a name that's very difficult to guess, which Bob is not a difficult name to guess, change your mind to a more simple name, but don't give it away. And this also works the other way around. Let's say they wrote down another really complicated name or very, you know, a very out of the ordinary name. Then what you would do is you would say, in case you're thinking of a very simple name, think of a more complicated name, but don't give your thought process away. Now, the reason why I say don't give your thought process away is, number one, it makes sense to them because you're a mind reader, so you don't want them saying anything out loud, but also it forces them to not say out loud, oh no, I'm not thinking of a difficult name, if that makes any sense right there. Now, it also can be applied to like PIN numbers too. Let's say they wrote down, you told them to write down a PIN code that was, you know, any digits they like, and they wrote down 2486. Whenever you peek it, whenever you do your center tear and you peek it, what you'd want to say is, just so we can make everything a lot more difficult, if the code that you're thinking of right now has any repeating digits in it, change it to a completely different one, but don't give your thought process away. So what's great about that is because I already know that it doesn't have repeating digits. Now I know they're not going to change their mind, but it creates the illusion that they could have changed their mind if they wanted to. And that's something you can use for book tests, any kind of mentalism effect where you're getting a piece of information. Let's say that you did do a book test and you forced the word rock. If you force the word rock, what you do is you'd say, okay, so I don't want you to give your thought process away, but if you're thinking of a very long or complex word, please change it to something a little bit more simple, but don't give your thought process away. Now, here's what's really great. Because of the way that it's all framed there, when you do reveal the word rock or Bob or whatever the information is, it still is in line with what your instructions were. So everybody else watching will assume that maybe they did change their mind to the more simple thing. Right? Yeah. So yeah. All right. Super interesting psychology. Yeah. It's reverse psychology kind of. Yeah. And it's just a little verbal thing that's all about implication, getting them to fool themselves. And it's not even what most people would call dual reality, where the participant's getting a different effect than the rest of the audience, because the participant themselves also feel like they could have changed their mind if they wanted to. So yeah, those are a couple of really cool mentalism ideas that I use all the time. And yeah, so I guess we can.
They really do feel like they could change their mind, because as long as they don't think that you could possibly know what word they're thinking of, then the restrictions inside of your instructions could apply to them.
Yes. And also I have had, after many gigs that I've done, I've had people come up to me later and actually say, how could you have done that? Because they could have changed, they changed their mind afterwards, you know? So like this stuff actually works. All of these little subtle things, especially in mentalism, like people will come up and they will think that, you know, and they have no reason to talk about it either, especially if you're doing it with a center tear, because a center tear was one of the reasons why I came up with the difficult ploy to begin with, because a lot of people wonder, why are you tearing up a piece of paper after they wrote something down? Well, I think one of the best reasons to do that is if you are going to allow them to change their mind. Like, you know what? Oh, forget about this. If you're thinking of a really simple name, change to a more difficult one, but don't give your thought process away. It just feels a lot more natural, and you're still getting the information right there. Now, let's say the worst case scenario that you're going to be in is that they did actually change their mind. So let's actually cover that real quick. So here's a really cool thing that I think actually comes from Lee Earl, and here's what I like. So let's say that we piqued the name Bob, we did the difficult ploy, so we did grant them that little bit of freedom. So let's say that they did decide to change their mind, but we don't even know that they did. What I would do is I would then take my pen when I'm about to write down what I think they're thinking of, and I would write down Bob right here, and I would say, did you go for the name Gregory, by the way? And then they'll say, no, I went for Bob. And the reason why is because they think I got it wrong. So now they have no reason to mess with me at that point. So they'll be like, no, I went for the name Bob. And you say, okay, good thing I committed to this. That's one way you could be one step ahead of them, is to throw out a name that they are definitely not thinking about. And then, I mean, and that's not 100% foolproof, but it's a lot better than just taking a whole miss, right? Hopefully that makes sense, is that you're going to write down the name that you piqued and then throw out some other random name. And then they're going to think, oh, okay, so he's got it wrong anyway, so I might as well stick to the original name that I was thinking of. Hopefully, like I say, that makes sense, but that's just one backup plan in case the difficult ploy thing didn't work.
And for the mentalists in here, I'll do this very shorthand for you, but if they do happen to have changed their mind, right, and you have written down Bob, and you can place it in their hand. This is an idea from Watkins, again, which I don't think he was going to go into because it's a little more complicated, but basically they've said, okay, what name did you think of? And they say Frank, Frankfurter or something like that, right? Now they've got Bob in their hand. You say, slowly turn that over. And then you say, actually, you know what? Did you change your mind? And they say, yes, I did. And then you say, can I go for the first one too? Right?
Yeah.
I
almost forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can go back. They've got Bob already face down, and then you're going to write down Frankfurter, and they're going to say Bob. And then you take both of these back and say, I got both of them.
Now you're one ahead. Yeah.
One ahead, right? So that's for the mentalists. I mean, it's to not get into too much detail, but it's
you can get really complex with just these pieces of paper and all this stuff. But basically, yeah, just those two or those three ideas, those three switches. That's your backup plans for all of them. And with mentalism, you know, sometimes you're gonna miss, but like they say, sometimes that makes it a little better, you know.
Very cool. All right. Any more questions for Watkins? You could just start talking or write it in the chat. And while you gear up those questions or not, Watkins, where can we support you?
You can. I'm also on MagicFlix. I got a bunch of videos on those switches actually, and a couple more ideas as well.
I'm gonna put you in the chat there.
Yeah, cool. And you can also reach me on Facebook. Look for Robert Watkins, and I'll add you. If you're a magician, I'll definitely add you. You can reach me at watkinsmentalism@gmail.com or watkinsmentalist@gmail.com. I have, as Kent said, he has a few copies of my Positive Negative out there, which is my second book that I wrote. My first book is PDF, and you can buy that on Penguin. I'm still in the works on my third book, but that will be available soon. And you can reach me at Watkins Mentalist whenever that goes out. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So that's it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Watkins. Let's see the love in the screens? I don't know what you do. Do you hold your hands up? Do you wave them around?
I'm assuming everybody understood my stuff clearly because I haven't gotten any questions so far, so that's good.
Oh, really nice comment from Eric. Actually, your thinking is so smart, and I love every chance I get to learn from you. It's
awesome. Thanks, Eric.
I heard somebody start asking a question though. Who was that?
That was me, Andrew. Hi. I was wondering if you could demonstrate the peak again. I missed it almost entirely when you peaked the name.
He just kind of talked you through it, but yeah, go ahead and talk.
Oh, okay.
The very beginning.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I actually really didn't go too much into the how to actually read the information once it was switched, but I will. So let's say that you just switched it. Let me get some stacks here. In your pocket, you'll have a stack of blank business cards here that are just like your billets that you're switching, right? This is going to be in your pocket. After you've switched it using any of the methods or the ones that I just showed you, whenever this goes into the pocket, you're going to unfold it against the stack. And this is a classic switch and read method where you unfold their actual billet against the stack of cards. And now they're holding on to the dummy. You're going to take this out, and I'll actually give a few other insights into this too while I'm at it. You're going to take it out as if you're about to reveal the information they're holding on to, which is over here, right? You're going to pretend to write down something. Meanwhile, you're just reading what they wrote. And then you can say, no, I'm going to change my mind and take a new billet, write down the information, put this back into your pocket. And now you're in this situation. This is something that a lot of people might, feel like, where do you go from here? Because they're holding on to a dummy right now. There's nothing written on there. And you wrote down the information. Here's what you do. You wrote it down. You say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch with you. Don't look at mine yet. And now you switch with them. Don't turn mine over. You're going to open up the dummy, turn it once, because if you turn it, that implies that you are actually reading something. You go, oh, you went for Bob, and then fold it up. Go ahead and take a look and see what I wrote. And now they turn that over and the effect's done. So that's how you go ahead and switch and read and reveal.
Great, thank you. That's great.
Awesome. And I think I got another question on there, but I can't see it anymore.
It is, what are your favorite books on mentalism?
My favorite books, well, my favorite magic book of all time actually is Strong Magic by Darwin Ortiz. My favorite mentalism books is the classics, Corinda and Animan. I love Peter Turner's stuff. I love Steve Walkner, who's another up and coming dude that me and Kent actually used some of his ideas in our own lecture that we did on our tour. He's got a lot of great stuff out there. Yeah, basically, I mean, I just try to, I don't really think so much in terms of books that I like as much as every book has something in there that I can find something out of. I actually really like Bruce Bernstein's Unreal. If you can get a copy of that somewhere, that's a very, very good book. It's filled, every time I read it, I find something new in there that, sparks an idea.
Very good. All right, I think, yep, Gary says thanks for answering the question about the dummy. That's it. So I believe that that's all the questions for you, Watkins.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Watkins. Guys, show them the whatever you do. I don't know what you do. Yeah, hey, like this. Woo. Chime them. Snaps. All right. Cool. Well, hey, guys, I'm going to take over here for a second. I'm going to show you a really quick trick. It's one of those things that's much easier to do than you think it is. Okay, so everyone get out a pack of cards. And I do need somebody who is... I need to randomly select the person that I choose, not randomly right here. Let's have somebody on video. Let's use Greg Keeling. Greg, are you there? Can you turn your audio on?
Hello.
Perfect. Hello. How are you? Hey, how are you? So,
hey, all right.
I'm going to switch over to my other camera here. And Greg, Now this is with this trick. Usually, what I do is have you shuffle the cards, but I guess I'll just shuffle them myself. But it is legitimate, and you can do this as cleanly and openly as you like if you do this on Zoom or whatever. Okay. So my card.
Can you adjust the camera down just
Yes,
a little
I
bit
can.
more?
I think I knocked it when I went over there. Perfect. Thank
Thanks.
you. All right, so my card is the 9 of spades. Actually, no. We'll do this a different way. I'm sorry. I want you. It was gray, right? I want you to think of any card and just name it out loud. Name any card.
King of spades.
The King of Spades. King of Spades. All right. King of Spades. That is your card, and that is very easy for me to find because I'm doing it my way. I'm just going to go through, take it out of the deck, and find it myself. My card is going to be the matching, well, the King of Spades, right? My card is the matching card. My card is the King of Clubs, okay? So I'm going to give this a couple of cuts. Hopefully you guys can see those are legitimate. All right? And I want you to give me a number between, let's say, 10 and 25.
11.
11. That's a great number. Now, yours was the King of Spades. Mine is the matching card, the King of Clubs, and you said 11. And at that point, you could hand it back to be shuffled. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't see it here. You might have gotten lucky. So there is the King of Spades, and hopefully the 11th card right there, the King of Clubs.
Nice. Hey.
All right, so it's a neat little routine. You don't have to use the move the way I've just used it, but I really want to teach the move because I think it's a cool move that should permeate the Magic world a little more than it currently is. Does anyone know what's going on there? We got a large group, so I'd be surprised if nobody knew. Does somebody know? You can just turn your mic on and speak up. Well, not like Eric. You don't count.
You didn't do a Mexican turnover, did you?
No, I did not. I'm so okay. Great, good. So here's the move. Check this out. It's essentially the same thing as the invisible pawn. The invisible pawn move, or the routine. Basically, you're putting a double on the table like this. Now that secret is compounded by another move later, but this is really the one I want people to be able to do. Now, placing a double on the table like this, how you normally do it, with like the fingernail and stuff, it's pretty anemic, right? It's a little too careful for my taste. So check this out. You're not going to think you can do this, but you can do this, I promise. Watch. All right, watch again. How cool is that? So there's no tape, no wax, no nothing. You can take any two cards, any double lift that you can do. Boom, just like that. Pop them like that. All right? So I'm going to even give them a little rotation like that. See that? So I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to do that move first, and you will surprise yourself with your ability to do it. Okay? So, because it's one of those things that I guarantee you it is easier than it looks. Let me get myself back on screen here. What page are we on? That's page 2. All right, cool. So the way I do this is I like to get a stage double. Okay, so basically you get your double lift, however you're going to get your break, your double lift ready. You're not doing a double turnover technically. You're going to put your thumb at the back, your middle finger at the front, and your first finger at the in the middle of the cards. So there's your sort of stage double. You can see how I'm holding the cards like this. Okay. So now that you've got the cards like this, what you're going to do is place them against the surface of the table. Now let me grab a surface here. Oh, here's a gray surface. Ooh. My book. Ooh. All right, so look. What you're doing on the surface of whatever surface you're using, you've got the cards bent like this. They're flush together. It's a tight double. Now your middle finger will let go. Your thumb remains. The cards are still bent up on the thumb. Now you lift your first finger while pushing with your thumb. All right, the action, I'm just gonna do it with one card because we're up here like this, but the action is like this. Just this. In fact, you don't even move your fingers really. You just move your wrist. Okay, like that. So now, I think that was pretty clear. What I'd like for you to do though is definitely try it. I mean, look, try it right now. I want to hear some success stories because when you put this down here, oh, I think we're getting one from Donovan right now. Yeah, Donovan. All right, good. So it's funny. Don't aim for a foot like I've got here. Aim for an inch. You know, aim for an inch, and you will surprise yourself with how much distance you can get on this. Now I'm doing this on a beautiful pad, right? Of course, but here's like a desk, right? Oh, that really glides. There's a desk. You know, I'll do it on the floor over there. That's a double. All right. So here. Now what you do with it? Now
It looks like you're not actually even like touching the surface, like you're doing it before you get to the surface.
Yeah, when you get used to the action, you can get it done pretty quick. When you get used to the action, you can get it done pretty quick. It doesn't look like I went into excruciating detail to help you out, just so that everyone's doing it right. But there's, you know, it's like many moves in Magic, it's a bit of a knack. And once you get the knack, you're like, oh well, it's nothing. So it looks like I've got some success stories out there right now with people, which is great. And then we'll move on to the rest of it. So here's how you utilize that for the routine that I just did. All right. You have someone name a card. If you're doing this over Zoom, that's a nice way to go because they just get a free choice. Let's say they say the Ace of Diamonds. Okay. First thing what I'm going to do is go through the cards and find the Ace of Hearts. The Ace of, sorry, that's incorrect. First thing I do is find their card, the Ace of Diamonds. If you pass by it while you're spreading, if you pass by the matching card, the Ace of Hearts, you can just mark it in your mind, whatever. You cut the Ace of Diamonds, their card, to the top of the deck in preparation to show it during a double lift, because now you're going to go get the Ace of Hearts. So I'm going through. Oh, hold up. Sorry, I just lost you guys for a sec. WhatsApp tried to get my attention. Okay, so you've cut their card to the top, the Ace of Diamonds. Now you're cutting your card, which is the matching card, not cutting it to the top, but moving it to the top, out jogging it, claiming that it's the Ace of Diamonds, in this case their card, and saying and preparing for a double lift. Now, in this little makeshift routine for this move, no, I don't have a great reason to put this card back down on the deck. Sue me. All right, so find your own great reason. Or do all of the work ahead of time, cut both to the top simultaneously. That's a possibility. Whatever you like. Anyway, you have your double here. Ace of Diamonds, their card is showing. Ace of Hearts on top. Do the move. Boom. All right. Now, when you've got the Ace of Hearts there, Ace of Diamonds here, check this out. Let's just say the number is 10. Obviously, the number doesn't matter. Here's the move. Well, this is what it looks like once again at speed, and you'll get it if you don't have it already. So watch. If the number is 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So what's going on there is the cards are being dealt. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and when you get to the 10th card, you're going to push off one card to deal. Grab it as if you're going to deal it, pull it back out of your hand as your hand comes down and pushes the other card off. Okay? So once again at speed, that looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And to me, that is an incredibly long illusion.
Wow.
So, couple of quick little tips on it when you're doing this particular thing is that you have there's a thought that you might want to just deal into a pile, but I want to point out that I think this animation idea is better. Nobody's looking here. Nobody's looking here. But just in case they are, you want to get their eyes going with motion over to this side. So you deal away from the card, right? Or away from the double, and then toward the double as you're dealing through the number, trying to time it such that you hit like around this area right before you're going to deal that last card off, okay? So there's that, boom, and then this last one, bam. So that keeps their eyes on this side of the pad, or on this side of the desk, or whatever surface you're doing this on. The only surface I'd recommend not doing this on is one where the cards have more friction than the surface. That might be this. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, see what happens here is that the cards actually slide together on the surface because this surface has less friction than the cards have against each other. So a pad tablecloth is ideal. Some wooden surfaces that have like a waxy finish maybe, or anything like that. Just give it a shot before you go, before you try it out. Anywhere where you can do your invisible palm routine, you can do this. So are there any questions about that? That is, I feel like I kept it pretty brief.
Would you ever do that on a recorded medium, or do you think it's too risky? Or I definitely would do it on live, but what are your opinions on recorded mediums to do that?
I don't know. I think that's probably a style thing. I think maybe out of 100 times they split, or I get caught. Maybe 2 out of 100 times.
I meant the split, the second phase, the part where you're making it split and you're grabbing, because I'd assume you can slow motion it.
If you put that down carefully, you could do the dealing phase. Yeah, I am very happy to do the dealing phase live. I'm sorry, on camera. If I were planning to do it on camera though, maybe I would try to come forward a little bit. You know, so that there is not a frame of an empty hand. You know what I mean? Just get as close as possible, basically, to the thing. But I don't think, it's especially convincing if you can manage, if you have any control over the camera. Like, look, we got a camera here. These cards are shuffled. If this moment can happen from this angle, then there is literally nothing to see. It could work to your advantage, but if they're not willing to work with you, then you know, maybe it'd be wise to either get really super close or try to do something else. I would do this inside of a much larger routine. I wouldn't risk the the appearance on just a trick like this.
Eric Stevens asks, why push the double that far apart? Why not keep the 2 cards together as if it is just being dealt on top?
That's a wonderful point. I push the double that far apart for visibility on Zoom right now. So that's a style thing. It makes perfect sense to deal over here and just do it a little bit like that. I'm still exaggerating a bit, but you could ostensibly do that. Actually, ideally, I think it's at a diagonal where it ends up, because then on 2 planes, it's obscured on 2 planes. You as far away from them thinking that could have been right on top of that other card as possible. You know, ideally, maybe at an angle, even like that, or like this. So if you can control it, that's the way to go. Great question, though. All right, cool. Well, guys, I'll just tell you where you can find my stuff, and I'm going to include links to this in the follow-up email, which I think Gary's going to send out to everybody. Let me change my camera back here. If anyone has any questions about that, though, that would be a good time to type them up or prepare yourself. But I think it's pretty straightforward. You like it? It's a good trick, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah, all right, good. I got the thumbs up and the nods. Yeah. So yeah, ways that you can support me. I have an Instagram page. I'll link everything. If you want, I have my book here. This is a cool book. It's got that routine in it, plus a bunch of other stuff and mentalism routines and some theatrical notes. If you ever have trouble memorizing things, this is a good, there's a good primer for this in the back, which will help illuminate where your problem spots are. There's a bunch of other really cool routines, nice little subtleties, and blah, 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 blah. It's my first, it was my lecture notes turned into a book because they just got too long. So, and then I've got some other stuff, but I'll just send you guys like a little like menu thing that maybe you can forward along, and so that I don't, you know, spend any time doing a pitch meeting here. But I'll tell you what, I can't remember exactly what I said to Gary. I know that I was going to give you guys a deal. Let's do this. Anything in what I send you, I'll give you guys free shipping. And then if you are a member of MagicFlix, then I'll give you $10 off whatever your order is. And that $10 is your free month, even if you're in your free month trial. That's how much I believe in it. That's how much I want you guys to try it out. So you can just, if you do the free month trial and you order anything from me, well, I mean, let's just say any of the packages, because you could order a $10 item and then I'd have to send it to you for free. Well, let's say any of the packages, if you order any package from me, I'll give you $10 off, or just my book. If you want to just get the book, I'll give you $10 off, and free shipping. Free shipping for having us here as a thank you. So just in general, free shipping for everybody. But if you happen to be a member of MagicFlix, even if you're on your month free trial, I'll give you $10 off. Okay? Cool. So I'll put some links down there in the description, and we'll bring our last two guests on, and they're going to be using the same camera because they're in the same house. This is, well, actually, our next gentleman has made quite a reputation for himself in the past couple of years in the magic lecture scene, and I think you did a Murphy's at the Table, and potentially a couple of others. The real thing that you'd be recognizing him for, hopefully he shares some of this at least on camera. I don't know if you're gonna sort of tip the work, but he's been made very famous recently for reinvigorating the color sticks or the hot rods. And the old like that thing has a totally new life thanks to this guy. And I love hearing that classical magic is being revitalized. So that makes me very proud to introduce this next guy. This is Eric Stevens. Let's show him some love. The visible thing, do the thing. And I'm trying to find him now. Where? Oh, there you are. I got you. There he is.
All right. Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? We all good?
Yes.
No attention to the dog in the background. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to this cool mini lecture series that my good friend Kent has set up. Great job, Kent. Great job, Watkins. Great job, Will, of course, who's not here anymore. But thanks for attending. Yeah, so the hot rod is kind of my thing. I'll be honest, I wasn't really planning on sharing any of that, but I absolutely can if I have enough time. People are like, nope, no barking.
All I can see is the little dog sitting on the back on the couch.
I know, this is adorable.
The little eyes just looking at me.
Luna produces her at the end of the act. It's
no way.
Direction.
But yeah, so what I'm going to share with you, and I know we've kind of gone through some card stuff before, this isn't necessarily a card trick. It's a little bit of theater is what it is, but it uses cards as the medium. I'll explain kind of why that's important and how it works. It also happens to be a super powerful effect that will, even though it's meant for lay people, it will hopefully fool most, if not all of you, when I do this. So everything is clear. You can see everything that's going on here.
Looks great.
All right. Get rid of that. A pack of cards, each one an example of pure symbolism. And though card playing originated with the Chinese, it's due to our friends, the French, that the four suits we've become so familiar with are depicted as such. As a matter of fact, due to the craftsmanship and the high taxation, playing cards became something of an investment and were often repurposed as invitations, wedding announcements, and even notes between lovers. Lately, of course, in the last, say, 100 years at least, perhaps even more, they've become fixated on as a gambling tool. So let's focus on that for just a moment. And let's see here. Watkins, will you assist me?
User.
All right. I'm going to need you to select the card that you will stake your reputation on as our theatrical pretend gambling now, if you will. Now, obviously, you would, if you were here, you would take whichever card you wanted, but you're not here, so you're just going to have to say stop somewhere. It really is a free choice.
Stop.
The card that I just dropped down or the next one?
The next one.
This one here.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Now imagine for a moment, if you will, that you have decided to participate in a high-stakes game of poker. And after a few rounds where you've proven yourself to be a more than worthy opponent, the dealer is getting more than a little bit frustrated. And he decides to introduce a bit of an unusual idea into the mix. The concept is that the deck will be mixed face up into face down, over and over and over again. And your lucky card will be mixed in amongst the rest. Here is your card. Actually, I can see it too, it's all right. The 4 of diamonds. Now, if you were here, you'd get to toss this in yourself, but you're not here, so you just tell me approximately where you want it to go.
We'll put it right there.
Right about in here somewhere.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the dealer, a rather tough-looking character from Las Vegas named Kent, he, like I said, he got a little bit frustrated.
That's me.
And he's rather impressed. He tells you he's impressed with your ability, with your skill as a player. But he doesn't want to lose the pot, as you so very nearly made him do. So he tells you, rather threateningly I might add, that if you're so good, if you're so damn good, then you should be able to find your lucky card amongst this mess. And if you can do that, he says, he'll let you go without breaking your legs. Well, that all sounds like a load of crap. So you tell him that you'll see what you can do. Now you see, what Kent doesn't know is that you have been practicing for years to do this exact thing. Just one hand. With laser focus and fingers of steel, you cut that deck. Now again, you would do this if you were here, but you're not. So where would you like the deck cut? I'll just sort of run my finger kind of up and down. Actually, you know what? Even top, middle, bottom, whatever you choose. You just let me.
We'll do it towards the bottom.
Towards the bottom. So perhaps here?
Maybe a little bit more towards the bottom.
A little more towards the bottom, maybe.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So, with fingers of steel and laser focus, you cut that deck to reveal just one card. And with bated breath, you've turned that card over.
Nice.
Kent screams in frustration. Cannot believe their eyes and thus cheer with appreciation of your skill. So, from that moment on, you don your shades, you grab your winnings, and you walk out of that door a legend. You see, the reason that playing cards were so special to people throughout all these many years was not because of what they looked like, but because they were an investment. There you go.
Wow, awesome.
That's super dope, man.
Thank you. So this is, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So this is one of my favorite routines to do because it's very, very theatrical. It's very theatrical, and you really get a chance to connect with the audience on a level that makes it something other than just a card trick. It's not just you going, oh, look, you signed a card and it goes in the deck and I found it. Yay, it's not one of those moments. It's me saying, lean in a little closer, child, so I can tell you a story. It's one of those kinds of moments. Now, I'm curious, I'm going to switch just for myself here. I'm just going to switch to the other view so I can see everybody. Be honest with me, but most importantly, be honest with yourselves. And this is more just a survey for me. I'm curious. Raise your hand if I fooled you with this. Oh, you guys are going to hate yourselves in just a second. This is one of my favorites, like I said. All it is it's a Svengali deck. That's it. It's a Svengali deck, but it's used in a very, very unique way. So the first thing you want to do is you want to separate all of your duplicates, in which case 4 diamonds for me, from all of your indifferent cards. Now, generally, especially if you get the Svengali deck, a bicycle Svengali deck from, say, Murphy's or something, they usually come separated already, which is really interesting, but that's just it. So you could technically buy one, like a new deck, open it up, and then, and if you've got one of those resealers, you can reseal it and make a big deal of opening it up, and it feels very, very fair. The second thing that you want to do is take every single one of your duplicates, and especially if it's bicycle, it's easy. There's a dot right in the middle here, and you put a pen dot. Now, I've done it with markers that are the same color, but it's not as obvious to see depending on the light. So I prefer to use just a black pen dot. Nobody ever sees it but me. That's an idea from David Regal's Prophecy Pack, and it's really served me well. So every single one of the duplicates gets one of those, and those go on top, almost dropped it there, on top of your indifferent cards. So now when you take the cards out of the box, you say, a pack of cards, and you just start spreading through until you get past the halfway point, and you'll know when you're there because you can see the pen dots, and when it becomes a point where there's no pen dot. And you say a pack of cards, each one an example of pure symbolism. And so now, once I'm past that midpoint, I can square these cards up with my fingers and turn them over and show you all the different faces without really making a point of these are all different. I say each one an example of pure symbolism. Now I turn it end for end. I talk about the Chinese and the French, which is all true. And as I'm talking, I very slowly spread through the cards to make a point. And I talk about how they were repurposed as invitations, as wedding announcements, right? And I talk about how important it was with the taxation, with the craftsmanship, and it makes the deck of cards into something that's so much more important than people usually perceive it as, right? So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on the concept of it as a gambling tool, because I talk about all these really beautiful things, but then I take this sort of mundane instance of, well, it's just playing cards, and I turn it into a moment of theater. I turn it into a story that makes you the hero, which is really kind of cool. And as I do that, I talk about the invitations, the wedding announcements, and as I say, even notes between lovers. I stop and pause at a heart card, and I don't say, the lovers, hearts, it's all Valentine's Day. I don't do that. I just really let it kind of be subconscious, right? And I just sort of gesture with, I kind of do a little bit of a graze with my thumb, just sort of rush back and forth as I talk about lovers, like this, okay? So I say invitations, wedding announcements, even between lovers, but as the years have passed, there's more focus on cards as a gambling tool. I'm gonna flip the cards over end for end, and now I'm going to ask you to just pick a card that will stake your reputation as our pretend gambler, our great gambler of renown. And from the very beginning, I'm putting you in a position of power, right? I'm still the one telling the story, but now you are the story, right? And because I'm spreading out these cards, you're just gonna take from what I give you, and they're all force cards. You've seen all the different cards, so you just assume everything is as it should be, right? And I've even cut in the middle and apparently shown you all of these, so you have no reason to think other, right? So you just take any card you want, and what's great is this routine can be done as I did it, online, right? It's not quite as powerful because you don't have all the tactile cutting and the mixing in and everything that they get to do, but you can still create a nice experience, right? So in that case, I kind of let them go, and they can either pick a card, or in this case, because it's online, they say stop anywhere, and I make sure they can choose what they want. I say the card that I just dropped or the next one. Whichever one you want is the one you get. It's completely up to you. I can even go back a couple. You want them to know that everything is up to them. And of course, because they're all the same, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm cheating. So whatever card they choose goes over to the side. And you can look at it, you don't have to look at it, it doesn't matter, because it's not about the card. It's about the story around the card, right? It's important that they remember what it is, but whether or not you see it isn't the point, right? So now you take all the cards, you drop them back on top, and I say, imagine for a moment as I ribbon spread the deck, and I do it at an angle, okay? So I usually ribbon spread from my left over to to the right? So like from the lower left-hand corner of my mat to the upper right-hand corner, okay? So I go whoop, up towards the card. So you have this really nice line of sight, up. But it's also very strategic in just a moment. Where I say, imagine that you chosen to participate in a high-stakes game of poker. And of course, when we talk about poker, we think about people who are good with cards, right? Cards are their lives. And so I do a little bit of a show-off move, which is this. We all know this, right? That sort of ribbony spread back and forth. But it has a secondary purpose underlying, where when I spread the cards, I'm going to move them up until I see the point where they become duplicates, and I leave it. I let it balance. Now, in this case, I didn't do it quite right. Let me do that again. There we go. Right about there. Anyway, it's a little far over, but you get the point. So you want to get it about center, and as soon as you can see it, they can't because they're over here. But you just let it be. And so now they see all these different cards making up this bit of a wave as it's gone by, and they just fill in the rest of the blank that these are as they should be, right? And they'll convince themselves later that they saw all of it, right? So you do a little bit of a show-off. You talk about the high-stakes poker game and how the dealer is really frustrated. And in this case, I used you, Kent, because I knew that it would connect to you emotionally. So what you're just going to do is you're just going to name somebody whose information you found out beforehand, right? So let's say you met, you say, oh, well, what's your name? Oh, Bob. Bob, where are you from? I'm from, Delaware. Oh, Delaware, that's a nice place. You remember that. You lock that piece of information away as you remember everybody else's names, if that's your thing. I prefer to do that anyway. But that particular person, especially if they seem a little more wiry, not some like big tough dude, right? Because you want to get a little bit of a joke out of it, but not degrading him, right? So you go on and you say the dealer who, he's just been a little frustrated, after you've shown your prowess, after you've proven your skill. And again, psychologically, linguistically, you're just kicking it in, just making them feel good, making them feel good. You're good, you're playing this game, you're great. You've proven your worth. You are good enough, right? It's all subconscious. And then when you get to the point where you say the dealer, a rather tough-looking character named Bob from Delaware, right? And then you just kind of bring that in. You've been performing this whole time, and maybe they think you've forgotten their name, but as soon as you kick that out, now their attention is drawn, right? Kind of just like what Will was talking about earlier, where suddenly, if they weren't laser-focused, they are now, and now they're part of the story. So now you have two people who are going, oh, I'm in this now. I can't escape. This is interesting. And they're building the whole image in their head, right? Imagining that seedy back room, maybe the whiskey, the cigar smoke, everything. You can build all of this in their heads without having to say much. So now you get to a point where you say that he introduces this rather strange idea. You can do this two ways. You can either go through the cards while you're talking, find the separation point, and cut it there. Or, as you're going through the cards like this while you're talking, you find that separation using the pen dots and you cut it there. It doesn't matter either way, whatever's best for you. But I just kind of go through while I'm talking, find the separation point just by looking at it, because it's faster and it's easier. And it's just in a split moment. It's an offbeat, so nobody really notices. Now I say he turns some cards face up and some cards face down, and he mixes them up. So now I do a couple different kinds of mixes. I'm going to do sort of this open kind of riffle shuffle a couple times, which is all fair. You know, especially to magicians that have seen Triumph stuff, they don't expect this, right? I even start bringing it out in this casino wash. Now, if they're in person with you, you can ask them to mix it up as well, but you don't want them turning over anything, right? So you want to make sure that they know that they have to pull kind of out from underneath and just drop. Pull out from underneath and drop, just to mix up the order of the cards, but not the orientation of the cards, face up or face down, if that makes sense, right? So here we go through, and now it's just this, it's this giant mess. It's an absolute mess. And you say, if you can find your card in this mess with one hand, I mean, if you're that good, you should be able to do it, right? And they get to put it in anywhere they want, right? And you make sure that you pick up the card and you show it to them while you're talking, and then you drop it or hand it to them face down, because it needs to go in face down. It cannot go in face up. I mean, it can, but it really shouldn't, right? Just for consistency and continuity's sake. So keep it face down. They put it in anywhere they want. They mix everything up. They are convinced that their card is lost. That's something that a lot of magic is missing, right? There's belief and then there's conviction, right? People can believe anything, but real, true belief in something is hard to find, especially in magic, because they know you're cheating. But if you frame it as a story, that's all kind of in the back of their head. If you give them all of this freedom, if you give them what they want, they will have no reason to believe anything is up, right? I'm not handling the cards. I'm not saying, here, let me mix these. Here, let me put the card in. They're doing it all. And that's what's really damning about it, is that they have no clue. And I don't know where that card is. I don't. I have no idea, right? Truly. So they mixed everything up. Now you're going to pick up all the cards and flip them up so the faces, in different faces, are towards them. And then you're just going to square the cards up while you're talking. And now, here is your situation, which is really cool, I think. When you spread the cards out to show them, they can see all these cards mixed, some face up, some face down, in a truly random order. What they don't see is that all those face down cards are exactly the same, right? These are all duplicate cards. And what magicians don't know is that the Svengali principle will work no matter the orientation of the cards, because it's not, it's not some sort of weird diagonal thing. A cut is a cut no matter what side it's on, right? And because it's a short card, it's going to be short either direction. So you will cut to the card, pretty much every single, although that got a little screwed up. I grabbed from the wrong side, that's why. You'll cut to the card every single time, and it's either going to be on the bottom or it's going to be a face down card like this, right? Every single time, without fail. It's pretty amazing. So you can talk about how you're supposed to do it with one hand. You've shown that all the cards really are mixed up. They can even, give it another cut if they want. It doesn't matter. And you talk about how you've coincidentally been practicing for years to do this exact thing with laser focus and with fingers of steel. And again, it's just that positive affirmation, right? That buildup of how great you are. You cut the deck. And you purposefully show them, you gesture how it's supposed to be with your finger positioning, so they know to grab the short ends and not the long ends, okay? You can do the long ends, but it's not reliable. It's not reliable, so come in, and of course, online, like I did with Watkins, tell me top, bottom, middle, where would you prefer? Otherwise, they just cut it themselves in real life. But bam, they'll cut the deck. And when you do that, if you see that it's in a different card, like this, then you'll know that the next one, the one underneath, is the force card. And of course, it's a face down card, then you know that that's a duplicate, right? So here they cut, bam, so I know the one underneath is a duplicate. And I talk about with bated breath, and I really slow it down. because I asked them to just cut, but not even look at it. You turn the card over, and there it is. And you have this really intense moment of just, wow, I chose any card I wanted. I mixed it in. I had no idea where it was. I mixed these cards. I cut it, and I cut to my own card, right? Proving your worth, again, as a member of that storyline. And now I take it back. I make sure everybody sees it while I talk about how all the gamblers were so stunned that they burst into spontaneous applause. So that's a verbal cue for everyone watching to involve themselves and cheer for that person, right? Because that doesn't happen a lot, even on stage, right? Because people in the audience cheer for the magician and what the magician is able to do and what the mentalist is able to do. But they very rarely ever do anything for the person involved, right? Because this person is just a vehicle for this to happen. But in the case of this theatrical presentation, this could not exist without them. So they are an integral part of this moment. So now everyone's going, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but you're helping kind of push it along a little by gesturing, going, you know, maybe a little wink, like this, you know, all the other gamblers, they burst into spontaneous applause, you know, and you, if they're a little slow on the uptake, you can kind of just wink it in and say, you know, go ahead and clap. Everybody's like, wow, this is really amazing. You take the cards back and you put them back in the box. As you say, you don your shades, you grab your winnings, and you walk out of that door a legend. Bam, and you just kind of let that sit, a legend. You are putting that title on them. So they walk back to their seat, a legend. Right? Not just someone who helped a magician, not just someone who came up on stage to pick a card. They're a legend. And now you bring it all back together, right? By saying that this wasn't just about how the cards looked, right? This is why cards were so special to people throughout the ages, because it wasn't about how they looked. It was about the investment. And there are so many layers to that. Right? The investment of their time on stage, the investment in the effect, the investment in the story, right? And it becomes very, very, very powerful right at that moment. And they go back to their seat, and it's a really, really, really strong effect. So I call that Final Cut Pro. Now, anybody have any questions? I know that was a little bit long-winded, but there you go. So another way of using the Svengali deck in a pretty
so dope, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really great.
Oh, Gary's asking, what is a poiometagrabologist? Yes, you saw that on my Facebook. I am a poiometagrabologist. So what that means is I am not only a solver of puzzles, I am also a designer. I design puzzles. And that was something that that Kent actually said I could talk about.
Yes, of course.
Please do. That would be great.
Before I do that, I want to make sure that I get to any questions anybody has. I don't want to bulldoze over them because that wouldn't be fair. So I know it's a big word. It is a new word. It's a cool one to learn. Yeah, so metagrabologist is solver of puzzles. Poiometagrabologist is designer and solver of puzzles. So it's two different things. Yeah, and everyone has one. That's right. Everyone has a Svengali deck. That's, if you're familiar with my routine Happenstance, which is one thing that I got kind of known for at the very beginning, like 5-6 years ago. That was my first booklet that I put out. Some of you may have it. If you don't, you can find the updated version on my website, which includes the description of this. Although I'm going to be putting an updated version out just on its own for people to buy if you don't want the whole book. But it teaches you how to use the Svengali deck in a very, very fooling way. And I did that routine for Jeff McBride, Michael A. Marlowe Sander, and J. Scott Barry all at the same table, and I fooled all of them with it. And then about 5 minutes later, Jeff is like, oh. It took him a second, but he's just like, oh, that's good. That's good. Very good. But it was pretty cool. But anybody have any questions? Do I need to cover any part of the scripting again? Any moment there? I mean, I thought I might be relatively clear with that. I try to be as clear and concise as possible with the meaning behind everything and why this is a theatrical experience, not just a card trick. Any questions from anyone watching?
It's great that you make the audience member, you go, abracadabra, you are a legend, and it gives them that feeling of being, yeah, I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's, if you've ever seen my show, then you know that my focus is always on communication and connection with people. And I know a lot of magicians say that, like, oh, it's all about connection with the audience, right? It's all about, but they don't really. They really don't. You know, they're still getting up there and they still do the card trick and they still say goodbye and move on to the next town. But I can't do that. My conscience won't let me. So that's one of the reasons why I developed this, so I could really spotlight people and go, this is cool. Let me bring you into that atmosphere, right? And that's the important part, building the story around them and kind of seeping it into the environment and not just going, I get a deck of cards. Now look, the card comes to the top 5 or 6 or 20 times. Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not my style. Gary, really love the routine and the drama, history, and info. The audience learns is great. Thank you. Yeah, I did research. I did a lot of research. And if you're curious, by the way, when Luna comes up, Luna is very, very well versed in the tarot and in the meaning of playing cards and what they were originally designed as. So if you want any further info, she can give that to you for sure. It doesn't look like anybody has any real questions. So if it's okay with you guys and with Kent, I'll just kind of plug the stuff I need to plug.
Yeah, 100%. Tell us how we can support you and where we can find your work and what kind of other fun projects you're involved in. And then you can introduce the lovely Luna.
I will do that. Yes, so you can go on my website, www.ericstevensmagic.com. A friend of mine said, get rid of the www when you're talking, just make it ericstevensmagic.com. I said, that sounds great. So it's not www.ericstevensmagic.com. It's just ericstevensmagic.com. And have I said it enough? I just want to make sure it's burned in your brain. So you can find.
I posted it and your Facebook page on the chat, which anybody can save to keep all these links. All you have to do is go to the little 3 dots at the bottom and save the chat, and it'll put it onto your desktop at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate that. Yes, you can find all of my products for the most part. You can find my books. I've written 7 books. So if anyone's just all different kinds of things, there's card material, coin material, some mentalism, just a bunch of different things that you might really find some interest in, including one of my favorite books, just because some of you might be interested in this, the theatrical aspect of it. In my book, Seeing Double, I have an effect called Stardust, which is actually a way of using a cigarette through quarter gimmick to penetrate the shadow of a quarter and put a hole through a shadow. It's a really kind of unique thing. So if that sounds like something you want to do, go check it out. It's pretty cool. You can also find a lot of my work on penguinmagic.com. I did an at the table lecture, which you can find on most major online retailers. I also just released my Color Sticks download, which is my hot rod routine that I'm well known for. And that just got released. It's not on my site because legally I'm not allowed to put it on yet. I have to go through a whole kind of thing with that. I do have one routine on MagicFlix. I'm not as prolific as some of our friends here on that front, but it's a pretty cool one that also uses an old prop in this kind of a special way. But yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to plug is this. So one of my passions is puzzles and mental challenges. I really love it. I think that's one of the reasons why I got into magic, because it was just intriguing. And something that I do, which no one else on this planet does, as far as I can tell based on my research, is I design and build puzzle boxes and puzzle locks out of playing cards. So this is an example of one that I do. This is called the Champion. It's a puzzle lock. So you can see it looks like a padlock, and the goal is to open the shackle, and it's got like a keyhole there. And it's the 3 puzzles that I have currently available are this one, which is a level 5, so it's mid-range out of 10, with 10 being the most difficult. I've got a level 2 and a level 3, kind of like a drawer box and the gift box style. You can find it all on my website. I can even do completely custom puzzle boxes with whatever cards you want, where I send you 10 kind of personal questions, and then you send me the answers back, and I use them to design and build a puzzle box that's tailored to you and your life and your personality, something that nobody does.
That's incredible.
You can go check it out. Yeah, so I make these by hand, all of them. So if you're interested in owning something that no one else, very few people have, I suppose, just hit me up for them. So here we go. Anyway, that's it. With that said, I would like to introduce, and I'm going to move I'm gonna move this table out of the way here. Oh, you want? Oh, for the routine. Okay. What is the name of the Svengali book? It is happenstance. Happenstance. So, which is another word for coincidence, and that's the name I used because that's kind of the theme of the whole thing. Happenstance, the gold label edition, and it includes that whole routine plus a basic description of the routine I just showed you. But please keep in mind, like I said, the full detailed description and scripting of everything will be released as a PDF on its own very, very soon for you guys. So if you're interested in that, that'll be up in a little bit. So I'm going to introduce my fiance, my lovely lady. This woman has been in magic for her entire life, literally since before she was born. I am not joking. She can explain that to you. She has traveled the world creating magic that no one ever forgets by creating magicians that no one forgets. She's a teacher, she's a performer, she's an entertainer, she's a smart woman, and I can't believe that she actually decided to choose me as her life partner. It makes no sense, but I wake up and go, wow, how's this happening? She can teach you a lot. I hope your questions are ready. Shimada. She's coming in a moment, I promise.
Bravo. Good job with that. The ceiling fan. Life is a journey. Life is a dream. Life with its waters running down the stream. And though the journey may be long, we must look back without regrets. Stay on our path unless something intercepts. For those moments along the way in which we do encounter, perhaps we choose to stray, perhaps we make a slight blunder. For nothing is taken for granted and nothing is by chance. We must surrender the road, surrender the past. But along the way, we are guided. Nothing's lost, only gained. For life is a journey of happiness and pain. So live for the moment, because now is all that matters. Time is an illusion, but love makes things happen. So be positive in life and learn from one another. The ego is the deceiver, so be kind to one another. Because we are all magicians on the road to splendor. But if you forget, do remember that life is a journey. Life is a rose. Life with its petals unfolding. Behold the miracles it does
as we hope.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to open with that, give you that as a little gift. Everyone knows, I'm sure most of you know, it is a classic effect, dubbed the gypsy thread. That moniker came, I think, from in 1940, 1943, but it goes much, much further than that. It's one of the oldest recorded effects in magic. I was doing a little research on it, actually, you know, because it interests me, you know, as to the origins of it. And it goes all the way back to like the 1500s. And some believe that it may have come from Japan. Others believe maybe India. It was called the Hindu thread trick before it was redubbed the gypsy thread back in 1940s. So if anyone here is interested in learning this effect tonight, I'm more than happy to share that with you. Many of you maybe already know how to do it. I use the very kind of simple classic one thread method, even though there are now lots of very, you know, different methods out there. But, you know, for me, I think that less is more and simple is sometimes the best approach. So anyways, here I am. Any questions, or how would you like to start this conversation?
All right, so I'm gonna pass this off to Gary for a few minutes here. Gary, if you could just chime in with any questions that either you have or that or you can, I mean, you know the group more than I know the group, so if anyone has any questions about, you know, a life in magic or philosophy of magic, stage performance, God, all of the above, chime in.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying thank you for the gypsy thread. It's a wonderful effect the way you do it. And I hope that you will go through it with us, even though we might know the method, you'll have subtleties we don't know. But I would like to start out by asking you about the Goddess Project. Give us some background on it and where it stands.
You've been on my website.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, the Goddess Project is just kind of an ongoing work in progress. Now, you know, my goal with that was always to try and find, you know, put together the most powerful female magic cast that I could find. And, you know, there's been many different female cast shows that have been produced or attempted over the years, especially in Las Vegas. And one of the things that has frustrated me as a female magician, you know, as if it's not already difficult enough to be a woman in magic, which has been for centuries now, primarily male dominated. But there are certain sort of stereotypes that even to this day, the public, you know, views women differently in this field. And, you know, I'm glad to see that tipping scale is finally starting to occur as there are more women entering the business. But as I have been growing up in magic and as someone that has been, you know, as a woman trying to pioneer this direction, this path for women to really express themselves in this art form, I've seen so many shows produced over the years with all-female cast, but of course, in the most typical sense, they're always, you know, perceived and presented as you know, overly sexualized imagery. And I mean, you know, we had Showgirls of Magic, and then we had the Playboy Girls of Magic, and then we had the Rock and Roll Girls of Magic, and then we had, you know, the list just goes on, right? And it's always the same theme, you know, it's skimpy girls in skimpy outfits or no outfits doing magic tricks, and usually box tricks. And so we don't see a lot of women with real chops and real skills get put on stage. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're not out here. We're out here. there's a lot of wonderful, skillful females in the business, but we don't get the chance to be focused or, you know, highlighted in a professional sort of produced set and setting. So, you know, my goal is to find these women, these exceptional talents, right, with real skills, you know, and but also unique, you know, unique personas, unique style, women with that X factor, you know, and put them all together in one show and just really show the world what we can do, you know, as a collective. So yeah, that is the goal, is to eventually, you know, be able to do that. And I have a roster of potential people that I want to be part of that project, and I'm always, you know, looking for backers, looking for producers, looking for a cast.
And obviously, they will set an example for young women, very young women who might get interested in. Do you have any thoughts on how to? Because our club, Oakland Magic Circle, we have a few women, but we don't have any really young women. Would love to see more diversity, more inclusion in our membership, and I'm sure most clubs have the same issue. And if you have any thoughts on how to best reach out to them and find them, that would be fantastic.
Well, I think that yeah, it's a difficult terrain for, you know, for women to traverse. When you think about, you know, women that are performing magic, a lot of them, very few of them got into magic of their own volition. Like I was, you know, I had an advantage because I was born in a magic family, so I was exposed to it at an early age. I started as an assistant, obviously. You know, my father threw me into the show, and I started and I got my training, and then I was part of a partner act for many years. And so I came into magic as a solo performer kind of late in life, even though I'd been exposed to it my whole life. I didn't actually step on the stage as a solo performer until I was about 27, you know. But by then I had all this training and all this experience and all these skill sets. And even then it was difficult. I think that in the last decade or so, I've seen a lot of young girls getting into magic, a lot of teenage girls. It's confusing for them, you know, because it's, first of all, it's very hard for them to find a female mentor that really understands how to develop, you know, a woman in magic. I mean, there are some things that are very, you know, basic. I mean, skill sets, yes, you can learn that from anybody with, you know, who's a good teacher. So I'm not biased as far as gender is concerned, but I think that when it comes to developing a young girl's persona or a style or, you know, a foundation for building who she is and who she's going to be and how she's going to express herself through the art form, you need, you know, you need someone that can really relate to you on that level. So I like that so many clubs and so many magicians are so supportive of girls, you know, coming in. I mean, I run a magic school in Las Vegas, and I have a children's program, and, you know, for beginners and for kids. And I don't get as many girls as I'd like to, honestly, but the girls that I have had have been amazing. You know, they're so creative, they're enthusiastic, they got great ideas. And I think that it's just a generational thing. So we're just going to have to sort of keep supporting it and hope that eventually, you know, we reach a critical mass, you know, where that scale will even out.
Thank you. Anybody there, any of our group, have anything they want to ask?
What's the name of your magic school?
It's Shimada's Legacy School of Magic. Yeah.
Do you ever do anything with Abigail McBride?
Yeah. I mean, she does her women's magic conference every year, so I participate in that, you know, and do talks and performances and stuff. So I've always been a big supporter and advocate of this. I mean, I was one of the first women to participate in the first women's magic conference, which was in the early 1990s, you know. And back then, there were not really a lot of women, like a lot of professional women. They were mostly like, you know, children entertainers and balloon artists and clowns but, you know, there was enough of them that there was enough of an interest. And so we tried that for a couple of years. And then, and I'm always trying to collaborate with, you know, with Abby whenever she wants to work on something. I've tried to have female magic groups. I've had meetings here. I've started Facebook groups. I mean, you know, it's a small, very, very select, very niche kind of group that you know, takes time to grow. But I'm always here to support, you know.
It's a cult in the true sense of the word, right? Hidden, like a hidden.
Hidden.
Right? A cult.
It shouldn't be though.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you know, male or female aside, magic to me has always been an art form more than a hobby, you know. And for a lot of people I know, it's kind of a geeky thing, and for others it's kind of a hobby thing. It could be so many different, you know, it's different to everybody. But you know, because I was raised as a theatrical performer, and I never got the introduction to magic that a lot of young magicians got, you know, starting with card tricks and close-up magic and stuff. I went straight from, you know, I went straight to the stage and started doing the big shows and the big venues, and learned my craft on the job, basically, you know, with thousands of people in the audience. And it's just like, okay, you're going to do this, right? Yeah, okay. And, you know, so pressure, you know, pressure and focus, you know, and just being on the, you know. So I was lucky. I got apprenticed, you know. I didn't have to learn magic through books and things like that, even though I did a lot of that as well. But I think that that's what's missing, because we don't have the big performance venues anymore like we used to, that we're out there just plugging away, trying to find venues and gigs all the time to keep our skill sets sharp and to get the experience in front of the audience and the stage time. And so we're having to create platforms for, you know, to feature ourselves. But I think that we can't forget about, because we can get very wrapped up in, you know, in the geeky aspect of magic, but I think that it's really important to remember that magic is an art form that has been around for thousands and thousands of years. And before it became entertainment, it was a way of life. And it was something that people lived with on a daily basis. It was a belief system. It was a philosophy before it became an entertainment. And therefore, it was something that was potent and powerful and meaningful, that evoked a sense of wonder and a sense of power and emotion, right? So that's really, you know, where my focus is that, yes, it's a gypsy thread and it's a simple trick, but, you know, what you can do with it, you know, that's what's important. Like Eric, you know, with his presentation with a Svengali deck. I mean, who'd have thought, right? It's just such a powerful effect. The power is in the story. And that was what I always teach my kids when they come. I'll teach them, you know, all kinds of very, very simple, easy to learn tricks. But then I'll sit there and go, your homework is to now take this trick, go home and create a story around it, right? Any kind of story, a story that fits, that this trick fits within a context. And I mean, the things they would come back with the next week was just amazing. You know, the creativity, when you set the platform, when you set the stage for them to be creative and you say, hey, okay, here's an effect. Now, go create a story for it. It can be a story that is based on something that actually happened to you, even better. Right? real stories are more believable and have more power and more potency than a made-up story.
Weren't magicians, it seems like there's a tradition there of them being wandering storytellers, kind of like bards, carrying news, right? I mean, the power of story to enchant an audience from the dawn of time, really.
Well, I think that stories are essential. I mean, because if you think about it, I mean, stories are life. I mean, every single person has a story. You have a story. You know, your life is a story. My life is a story. Everyone watching here tonight, you know, everyone has a story, right? I think that we don't take enough time to really think about that, you know, because we're so immersed in the day-to-day of our life and just, you know, our responsibilities and what we have to do and what are we trying to achieve and how are we surviving, and, you know, and so we forget to see the bigger picture. We forget to stop and go, you know, this is my story, and what do I want? What do I want it to, you know, what do I want to express? What do I want to say, right? How is this story playing out right now? And are there things in the story that can be improved, changed, modified? You know, I think that art mirrors life, but life also mirrors art. And, you know, for me, they're almost one and the same. So when I look at a magic trick, when I see someone perform an effect, I don't see the effect. I go, nice effect. But what I see is I see the story. I'm thinking, now that piece of magic could really communicate something. And I think that that was the reason why magicians like Houdini and, you know, and historical figures, even Copperfield, even Chris Angel, you know, all these magicians that rose to such heights within the public arena, it wasn't the strength of their magic that brought them to the people, you know, why the people embraced them. It was their story. It was their message. It was how their magic and their motivation and their presentation made their people feel. You know, like for Houdini, it was a time of depression. He gave people hope, you know, and empowered them to believe that, wow, you know, you can really escape from anything if you try, right? And that was a powerful message for back then. And then I think, you know, Copperfield came at a time when, you know, when the era was shifting. We were coming out of the turbulent 60s and 70s, right? The 70s, you know, into the 80s, where everything was starting to become very romantic and things were being romanticized. And so he was that guy, you know, that you know, everyone could sort of relate to. And so it's really about looking at society, I think. What is happening right now in the world? What are people vibing with? What are they resonating with? How do you connect with them at their level, right? I mean, you know, right now, I mean, for instance, we're in really turbulent times. So what are the things, what are the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that people are preoccupied with? How can we bring our magic to them in a way that will inspire them, you know, either by giving them a sense of safety or giving them a sense of hope, or, you know, whatever your personal message is that could really, you know, anchor them to something that's meaningful to them, you know. And I think that, like I always ask, why hasn't there been a woman, you know, that has succeeded in magic to those levels? And I you know, I think that it's because, I mean, women are just as good at delivering messages or conveying messages as anyone else. But I think that it really is about the story. I don't think it's, you know, and I think that we have to stop being so preoccupied with our gender and stop being so preoccupied with competing and focus more on the story. It's like, what do we bring, you know, as a human being to our society? How do we make a difference? And how do we use our magic to do that, to connect everybody? Everyone's so quiet. Did I stun everyone?
That's great. By the way, I'd like to compliment you on your familiars.
Thoughts. It's got to soak in.
I'd like to compliment you on your familiars, by the way. While you're
There are many here, actually. They're all over the place. But thank you. Yeah.
Well, Luna, that was really very deep. What you talked about trying to connect your magic to the zeitgeist is the word they use of the time. You know what people were thinking. You mentioned Copperfield and Romanticism of the '80s and Houdini escaping from the immigrant experience. But today, you know, this is powerful because today people are emotionally drained. You know, magic can really help them if you can connect with them in some way. This is exciting.
A quick story about Chris Angel, because this was really interesting. You know, I said that he's kind of like the iconic magician of this era of our, you know, of our youth generation now, right? And even though, you know, he may not have been popular with magicians per se, but with the young teenagers, you know, of today, he's become a rather iconic figure. And that's one of the reasons why I think his magic has been so powerful. I have a young student, or I had a young girl that came to me for some training years ago. And at that time, she was about 14, 15 years old. And I said to her, you know, who's your favorite magician? And she goes, well, Chris Angel, you know, is the reason why I'm doing magic. And I said, he like literally saved my life, she says to me. And I'm like, really? That's great. I wanna know more. And she said, yeah. She says, when I was about 13 years old, I was so sad. My parents went through divorce. I was having all these problems, you know, teenage angst things, which, you know, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to be a teen in this day and age, with the social media, with the bullying, with the pressure. I mean, it's really, really intense for teens. And especially with gender identity and all these things now that they sort of struggle and you know, struggle with, wrestle with now. And she said that when she was 13, she had decided that she was going to end her life, that she was done, that she did not want to live anymore. She had actually been making plans to end her life that night, okay? And before she went through with her plans, which she had meticulously, you know, organized, she decided to turn the TV on, and Chris Angel's special was on television, and it caught her attention. And she thought, you know, she sat down and she found herself watching the show. And by the time the show was over, she felt so inspired that she decided she was going to explore magic as an option to, you know, maybe dying. I mean, how powerful is that, right? It just amazes me how powerful magic can be for someone, especially at the right moment, you know. And it was a shift for her, you know. It was because she, after that, she dedicated herself to learning more about it and becoming, you know, and now she's a professional working magician. And, you know, she's doing great. She's in her early 20s now. And when she came to Las Vegas, I arranged for her to meet him. And, you know, and that right there tells me that, you know, it's not about what magicians think about other magicians. It's really about what the people think, you know, what kind of impact you have. And, you know, he had a style and an image and a message that resonated with kids like her. And that's something that, you know, I think we should really think about a little more deeply, you know, because it can have such an impact on a person's life, on entire culture, really.
Eric had mentioned that you had, you could tell us a little bit about Tarot, maybe the history of Tarot or something relevant to magic that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, because I was talking to Eric about, you know, like the symbolism of the playing cards. The playing cards, which is an evolution of the tarot. But, you know, before, if anyone's familiar with tarot, each card is just loaded with symbolism. and they have different suits. But you know, before that, the inception of the tarot cards was a means or a way. It was an occult. It was an occult study, is what it was. Occult meaning secret, and all the world's knowledge and information that that, you know, the powers that be, the hierarchies, you know, there's been holy wars throughout our history, and there's been this sort of information that people have tried to, societies have tried to bury and destroy over, you know, over aeons. And there have been secret societies that have just, their sole, you know, purpose is to preserve that knowledge and those teachings, right? So that they survive through the ages. And so one of the means for this information to survive was by disguising it. You know, when the scrolls were smuggled out of Egypt, and, you know, the emerald tablet was buried deep in the earth, you know, for centuries. And then eventually, you know, the knowledge had to be somehow passed through and disseminated, you know, through these different groups and different secret societies, and encrypted. The symbolisms were, the information encrypted in a deck of cards. So the deck of cards, the tarot, is actually a book. If you think of the cards as each card being a page in a book, it's a book that actually tells a story sequentially, you know, from the very first card, which is the Fool, and they're numbered, you know, from 0 all the way on up. So, you know, your major arcanas are your first 24 cards, and then you have your lesser arcanas, which is reminiscent to the modern playing cards that we use today with the 4 suits. And so, yeah, I mean, it is such an in-depth field of study just to be able to learn, you know, what each of these cards means, what the story behind each card is. But I think that every time I pick up a deck of cards, because I can actually do a tarot reading with just a regular deck of cards. And when you understand what you're holding in your hands, you know, you realize that you're holding a very magical tool, that they're just not pieces of paper. It's not just a game, you know, that each card actually has a meaning, and there's so much information in just one card, you know, and what it transcribes as. So, you know, it's a powerful tool. And I think not an accident that it became kind of a favorite for magicians, even if most of them don't know what they're actually holding.
Yeah.
But there's a story there. See, I think that, you know, again, getting back to the story that like Eric was doing, you know, he tells a wonderful story with the cards. And for me, it's like every time a person, now I don't do card tricks, so I'm not going to show you one, but there's a deck of cards in here. But for me, you know, if a person picks a card, right, you know, this card says something about that person, you know, 7 of diamonds, okay? So this card, you know, the diamond suit correlates in the tarot with the suit, which is the coins, or sometimes they call it pentacles, but it's coins, right? So all the diamonds or the coins suits represent the earth, which represents abundance. It represents the material world. So it could represent possession, acquisition, money, success, things of that nature, you know? The number 7, you know, when you start bringing numerology into it, the number 7 is the number of chance. It's also the number of desire, and it's the number of temptation. So that's why, you know, the gambler always says the lucky 7, 7s are lucky, but 7s are kind of like wild cards because it's like a double-edged sword, right? 7 of Pentacles basically means, you know, wealth and acquisition through hard work, focus, and skill sets. So, you know, when I see somebody select a particular card, it tells me something about them, because we think that, you know, a selection is a random thing, but nothing in the universe is random.
Nice.
It only appears that way.
yeah, like a little girl just happening to turn on a TV show. Because, I mean, when you got it planned out, you're going to kill yourself. You're there. Like, and then she just happened to turn that on at the right time.
Yes. And that is not random.
Yes.
Performing?
Destiny, you know, synchronicity is just, you know, when you think about the possibilities of just one thing being different and changing the whole outcome. And yet I happen to believe that there may be, you know, thousands of different choices you can make, but somehow, some way, somehow, it leads to the same outcome. You know what I mean? It's just a different road or a different way to get there, you know, and that's, you know, and that's destiny. And some people don't believe in destiny. Some people believe that they control their destiny or fate, you know. I think that fate and destiny might be slightly different, you know, because fate is based on belief, but destiny is direction and focus, you know. So,
did you say that the girl is
hand in hand, you know, destiny and fate are kind of the opposite sides of the same coin. They work together.
Did you say the young lady has gone on to, she's performing professionally?
Yes, yes.
In Vegas when it's open?
Her name is, she changed her name recently. Her name is Lyra, but she was formerly Kim Zoller. And she went to Tannen's Magic Camp and she won awards. And I coached and, you know, trained her for a time. You know, she's been here to Vegas. She studied with Jeff. I put her on cruise ships and she started performing, you know, professionally. And yeah, no, I mean, she's based in Delaware, but she's doing really, really well. And, you know, and her passion and her drive for magic never waned. And she's very talented. And that's the thing, is that, you know, you look at somebody that some people just have a natural tendency for it, whereas others have to work harder at it, and others just kind of dabble with it, you know. But I saw her, and people had been telling me about her, and I kind of looked at her and I thought, you know, I don't watch what they're doing. I don't watch the magic that they're performing. I watch them. I watch the way they move. I watch their timing. I look at their eyes, you know, I feel their energy. And that's what I look for in a performer. You know, my mentor was Channing Pollock, and he did not teach me a single magic trick. He taught me about magic philosophy, because he was a philosopher. And he always told me that being a magician is not just something you do for the few minutes that you're in front of a camera or on stage or in front of an audience. Being a magician is a 24/7 job. And it's not even a job, it's a way of life. So you're not just a magician for those, you know, for that short amount of time. You have to live a magical life, right? Being a magician is a way of life. It's 24/7, and it's a philosophy, and it's a way of thinking, it's a way of living, it's a way of perceiving. And he says, if you're going to be a magician on stage, you better learn how to be a magician off stage. And by that, your life you must dedicate your life to being a mage, being an urban mage. What does it mean to be an urban mage? You know, it's not just, it doesn't stop at, you know, at your skills. Being a mage is in life is about transformation and transforming people's lives through perception. That's where the real magic happens. This stuff is just the tools. Yeah. So I train mages, not magicians.
Nice. I hope I get to meet you one day. You're pretty freaking awesome.
You know where to find me. All right. Well, I've really enjoyed this time with you guys. And does anybody have any questions or anything before we wrap up? Or...
Yeah, any chance you could do the...
Great.
Edie, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I'm Bibi. I'm going to be there for Abigail's summit, so I see you there. So I already said that.
See you then.
Yes, very good. So how is your take on really doing Zoom shows, on the online connection? Because I can see with your energy how you connect through the camera to us. You really are touching us right now. I feel touched. And it's by the way you are communicating and your knowledge and all of that. I would like to know how you see the medium of online now that we have to interface with, since we don't have that look into the audience and can judge what's going on. We're having, you know, the screening and other reality now. And I think it's going to be for a while, at least for people that don't want to go out in crowds. Can you speak a little to that?
Sure, certainly. I think that, honestly, I mean, hand-to-hand, face-to-face, you know, physical contact and socialization is a wonderful thing, obviously. But I think that, you know, we are living in different times. And I think that we have been living a virtual life for the past, at least, you know, 10 years or more. I mean, really, we've been living and acclimating with technology for a while now. I mean, when you sit down at home and you watch a movie or a TV show, do you not feel invested in the story and the characters that you are watching? Yeah. Do they not elicit some sense of emotion from you? Do you not laugh or cry when you watch them, right? It's possible to have a relationship with characters through a screen. And we've been already doing that for, you know, for aeons. We just, you know, it never really occurred to us that we could be those characters on the screen. And I think that that's how we have to look at it, is that we have to understand that, yeah, we don't have this, you know, physical contact, but at the same time, I think that instead of watching a film or watching, you know, characters sort of play out like we're kind of we have this sort of voyeuristic view where we're just spectators watching a story play itself out, right? But now we have an opportunity to not just interact through a screen, but interact with each other directly through the screen. I think that's very powerful. I mean, just the fact that I can be here with all of you right now in real time, it's really powerful when you think about it, right? I mean, who'd have thought that something like this would even been possible, you know, years ago? And it took something like, you know, this quarantine to wake us up to that possibility. You know, it's a new way of expressing ourselves. And I think that it's definitely something exciting that we can explore. The thing that I think makes it powerful for me is that I can sit here and I can talk to you. I can share thoughts and feelings and convey, you know, certain aspects of my thought process or my philosophy. And even though there's a screen behind us, I can still look into your eyes through this little camera and feel you. And I hope you can feel me too, you know? And so I think, yeah, I'm all for it. Mostly because we don't really have a choice, but you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes we have to be forced to do something in order to explore its possibilities. So that's what we're doing. And I'm excited. I'm excited to go further, you know? And it's a whole new way to open yourself up. I think that you have to be willing to be vulnerable, and you have to be willing to just be real and really open yourself up. Get away from this sort of mindset that, oh, I'm on camera, so I have to, like, you know, yeah, you know, take down the barriers and just be yourself and really just, you know, in a way, I think that it helps people, because there are a lot of people that have a lot of social anxiety, you know, and difficulty being, I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm okay in crowds of people for a short time, but you know, like get me to a party and after about an hour, I'm like, I need to go now, you know. and so this allows me to really be more fully myself, you know, without having to constantly look around and be kind of hyper aware and sensitive of my environment. You know, that I can be my real self with you right now in my environment, feel safe, and therefore I'm a lot more focused about how I want to communicate. Does that help at all? Does that make sense?
Very nice. Yes. Thank you so much.
So I'm trying to look at these. If you can teach your gypsy thread, it would be wonderful. Okay, yes, now is the time, right? All right, you guys want to learn this? Yeah, you down?
Please.
Yes.
Very, very simple. You know, like I find a lot of good magic is simple in its form and method. My father always said, never make your magic look, he never liked complicated magic that was overly flourishy, you know, and especially complicated methods. I mean, we really subscribe to the low tech, you know, kind of approach, because it's really about the impact that you create with it and, you know, creating maximum visual impact as well. So I do the very kind of, I don't know if it's traditional or, to be honest with you, I've never really explored different methods of this trick because I've never needed to. You know, when I find something that works for me, I stick with it, you know? My dad always said, don't fuck with a working system. So, okay, so anyways, prep work. So you get your spool of thread, any spool of thread, preferably one that breaks easy in your hands. You can do that by just testing it like that. I use the candle just for theatrical effect, but if I'm doing this in like a close-up or walk-around situation, or just want to do this spontaneously for somebody, right? Because I carry this in my purse. I don't have a candle, obviously. I'm not going to whip out the candle and go, excuse me, I'm going to light this candle. You know, that's purely for theatrical when I'm doing a presentation or show or stage or something like that. But when I'm doing this out in the real world, I just prep the thread and I carry it in my pocket or in my bag. And so you have to have it prepared. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to pull out your first strand. You want to, you know, you don't want it to go too long, about just a little bit further than, you know, your arm spread, right about that much, right? And then you're going to pinch it right here. And now you're going to go ahead and do it again. You're going to pull out a second strand, about the same length. And then we're going to go ahead and take a pencil. A pencil is the ideal tool for this. Okay, I've used pens, I've used different items, but because the tip of the pencil is wood and it's smooth and, you know, it's beveled, that makes it ideal. So you want to take the thread onto the pencil, and then you want to start winding the thread on the edge of the pencil tip, but not on the tip, on the part that's beveled, on the straight part, right? Like before it starts to bevel. So I will get, really, once I get this sort of wound up here, I will show you what it looks like. See, these are little details that really make a difference, because I've been doing this for such a long time now, and prepping this the right way so that it doesn't fall apart on you is so essential. Because I've taught this trick to so many people, you know, my students and stuff, and I'm surprised how much difficulty they have just trying to get this thread ball prepped properly. So here it is. It's on the edge of the pencil, right? Not on the tip, but on the edge, right? So once you get it to all wound up, you're going to then grab that whole spool, okay? You're gonna pinch it between your fingers And now you're going to edge it. But because the pencil is beveled, right? When you pull it off, it comes off nice and easy. And now you have a nice little spool that you're going to pinch in half, like that. And you're going to take the rest of the thread and you're going to wind that around the center of that spool. So you have something that looks like a little bow. Can you see that? Looks like a little bow. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that because it came. So you're going to wind it around the center of the spool. So it looks like a little bow tie. Just like that. And now we're going to stick it onto the spool, like this, onto the edge of the spool. And we're going to take our thread that we're going to unwind, going to roll it around and clip it over that extra spool, little spool right there, okay? One time, only once, okay? So it goes on, you wind it around one time to secure it. That's it. Now put your finger over that and wind the rest of the thread down near the bottom of the spool, away from your prep. Everyone following me so far? Cool.
Great.
So now you're ready, right? You can either get your edge of your thread, hooked onto the little tab there, or just let it sit. And now you have this prepped with the little thing at the top. I have the spool at the top and the thread that I want to unwind at the bottom of the spool. So now I'm ready to do my effect. And when I pick it up, I can show it from all sides because my thumb is covering the prep, right? And now I can go ahead, and the thumb is really important that the thumb covers the prep this way, not this way, but downward. Okay, and you'll know why in a second. Now you start unraveling the thread. Now if you pull on it like that, it could start, hang on, what's going on here? Could get tangled. Like it did just now. Okay. Okay, so you're unraveling the thread. And then when you get to that last part, you're going to pull on it very carefully, right? So you're going to pull on it, you're going to feel the pressure as you get to that last strand that I wound around, and you're going to just lift your thumb up slightly as you pull on it so that it releases it, and then it comes off. So now you have the prep under your thumb, and it's ready for you to grab. So as you're unwinding the thread, right, and you still got the spool with the prep under your thumb in this hand, you're going to come over here and you're going to come over here, sorry, you're going to come up here, and here's the move. You're going to come up to the top and you're going to transfer this, the ball, the prep, between your finger and thumb over here, right? So I'm just going to come right up here and I'm just going to grab that little ball of thread and continue to unwind it. Now it's over here, pinched between my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to break that off. Okay? And there it is. Now, I just transferred it over to here, but you can also just transfer the spool and then grab it from this hand. Now you're over here. And what I love about this effect is how clean it is, because your hands are shown empty at all times. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I watched this trick and had no idea how it worked. I mean, none whatsoever, because it's just so clean and unbelievable, And I think it's just one of the most beautiful, purest pieces of magic for that reason. And super visual. So now you have your prep here, you have your string here, you're going to start breaking the thread. I have a way of just draping the thread between my thumb and finger. That's the way I do it. I think it's clean. and it doesn't get all tangled and fumbly, because we don't want it to be too fumbly. So we want to come up here, and I have this way of breaking the thread too, so that you're not tugging and doing all sorts of weird things. I put my finger here, and then I bring the thread between my finger and thumb up like that, and then kind of create like a, this, can you see what I'm doing here? Come up here and then break it like that. That way I'm not pulling on this, right? Which could unravel it, yeah? And that makes a nice clean break without affecting anything, right? So now you have all these pieces in one hand, but you know the piece that you need. You need the piece with the prep in it. So you're going to, I like to just take all the pieces, flip it upside down, because and transfer all those pieces into this hand, because the one that I want to separate is the one that I've been hanging on to the whole time, which is the piece at the bottom, right? When I flip it over, it's the piece on the top. So now I just do this. So now here, this is another area that people have problems with, winding the thread up. It's much easier with dental floss because it sticks together, but with cotton thread, it can get kind of messy, and it can also be time consuming because you have to get this wound up into a very, very tight ball. Otherwise, you might flash, or things could happen, not good things. So I do this thing where I fold the thread into itself as I wind it. I just keep folding it into itself, and I wind it and roll it between my thumb and finger, and I get it really nice and tight. So now it's a really tiny ball, just like that, right? Take your time with this. Don't go for the move until you've got control of this thread ball, and it's really, it's really small and compact. At which point you come over here and you put it right between your thumb and forefinger, and everyone can see that that ball is right there because it's the actual pieces, right? And then you do the transfer by coming up here, you grab that little ball, slide your finger down to the bottom of the thread with the pieces right here, and then you just let this one go, just like that. So let me show you that one more time. And you do it, very quickly. Thread ball right there. Come here, grab the thing. See how fast that is? And then you just grab this and you pull. And hopefully you haven't rubbed your finger and thumb together too much on this prep to get it all tangled. Because sometimes people do this, you know what I mean? And then it doesn't unwind very well. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And there you go. And I just,
that's fabulous.
I just dip
Nice.
it, or I just, wedge it between my finger like that. So I'm clean afterwards. Any questions about this?
That is really great. Really simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing that for us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Luna, how can we support you?
How can you support me? Well,
3 kids.
Yeah, $1,000 a week should do it. I have 2 websites, lunashimadamagic.com and Shimada, what is it? Shimada Magic? Shimada Magic Legacy.com, I think. Yeah, so the magic school at the moment, with the whole quarantine thing, I'm still working out the logistics of the school and scheduling classes and lectures, but eventually I'm going to have hopefully a whole roster of classes and lectures and things that I'll be offering through that website. And I want to have like an actual school. Like there's a lot of magicians that are doing a lot of individual classes, but I want to actually have a faculty, like a real Hogwarts school, So my idea is to like have a person on staff, that's specialize in mental, and so I want a mentalist, and I want, you know, a close-up magician, and I want specialists in their field to be part of this sort of, you know, this collective, so that when people want to come on and they want to book a lesson, and this magic school is not just for magicians. I mean, it's for laymen as well, right? You know, they have to fill out an application and go through a little bit of a process, you know, to get accepted. And you know, and I take the whole like secret code oath thing very seriously. I mean, it's very esoteric, you know, the way they have to qualify. But because I think that that's what's another thing that's missing, is that with all the exposure of magic on YouTube and everywhere, people don't respect the magic anymore because secrets are so readily available. You know, people can Google that stuff, and there's so much exposure that we have to get back to treating it. We have to get back to treating magic, you know, as a secret art form again. You know, we have to preserve those secrets. We have to make, you know, we have to have the initiations, you know, again, like it did that, like back in the day, you know, when someone came into a magic shop and said, oh, I want to learn this trick. Oh, well, you know, you're gonna have to come into the back room and, you know, maybe we'll teach you something, you know. Of course, now that's like totally creepy, right? Like we can't even do that anymore. But I think that, you know, this is such a great platform that it would be wonderful for people to have access to that sort of, you know, to be able to have magic lessons taught by a special. That's what I'm trying to do, is, you know, get that. If anybody is interested in joining me or participating, you know, I'm really open to just, you know, collaborating with people to really grow and expand this, you know, as a service to the community.
Wonderful. You said, now I got the lunashimada magic.com. What was the other one?
Shimada Magic Legacy.
They're all in the chat. If you go down to the bottom and click on chat,
okay,
they're there, and you can link onto them, or you can save the whole chat by pushing on the 3 little dots at the bottom of the chat, and it'll save it to your desktop, all with all the links.
Great.
Yeah.
And there's some video of the young lady Lyra that she was talking about performing as well.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, check her out.
That's Lyra.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Well,
Okay.
thank you, both Eric and Luna, anybody else who's still here, and Kent for putting this all together for the Oakland Magic Circle. It was fantastic.
A lot of fun, guys.
Thank you all for coming. And so Kent will send me some information about the discounts and about the membership, trial membership, as well as a couple of videos you were talking about, and I will send that out to the list when I get it.
I will definitely do that. If you don't mind, since we're right here, I can just show you guys. If you don't, if you haven't already seen it, I can show you what I'm looking at right here. It's actually where I'm getting the links for everybody. Here, let me share this with you. There we go. Everyone see that? Cool. So this is MagicFlix. If you ever log in, this is the collection of videos that we have. And if you do take your free trial, I'd like to ask a special favor of you to pay special attention to this. So here, I'm going over to the Magicians tab and clicking there. This is probably the best way to navigate the site, is to look at the different magicians. I, for instance, here have the Maximum Entertainment audiobook, which if you haven't read the book, it's definitely worth reading. This is worth a free trial alone right there. But if you go down to Twin Cities Magic, this profile right here, this is a very great collection. If you'll notice, somebody familiar right here.
Those famous videos.
That's right. So these, this is kind of like L&L before L&L was L&L. But we've something like 68 or 70 of these DVDs. And we're getting more every day. So that's just the one profile there. And then, you know, all of these profiles have different content. There's Eugene. And, oh, here, like I said, with Will, all busking tips videos. So he's got maybe an hour and a half of busking content there. And yeah, so that's how you do it. There's Luna teaching Oh, I remember the booted beads. Yeah, great. This is a great trick.
Body.
Yeah, ow. And there, Eric is here somewhere too. Eric is, there he is. There he is. Same thing we had a set up during Magic Live 2018.
I don't know who's in charge of this, but would it be possible to replace that photo with an updated one? Because
this one here?
That one's from like 2.5 years ago when I wasn't sporting any facial hair and I look like I was 12. So
absolutely not. I'll replace it. I will personally replace it with a baby picture if you want.
There we go. That's it. That's what I want.
But outside of that, I think it's perfect.
All in a mustache.
You look like you're 14.
Yeah.
I think you look really cute there, Eric.
Yeah, you're adorable.
But just so anybody knows, this particular routine, the hard part, if anyone saw me at like Wonderground around the tables and stuff, I did that a couple times. And it's a really, really easy, really powerful card piece to do. So
it is really good.
We gotta take our doggies outside. They're getting
all right. Oh, this is a good collection too, guys. I'm gonna leave you alone in a second here, but the IMS.
Yeah, IMS is great. Lots of
pretty high quality magic, production quality, but a lot of those from the 80s anyway. So, all right, I'll stop my share now. Just that's your 2-cent tour of MagicFlix, but all of that stuff available, $10 a month, 30 days free, promo code MAGIC, and I'll send links out to Gary. And yeah, big thank you to Eric and Luna. Watkins and Will have already left. Thank you guys for indulging us in our love of this wonderful art or craft or spiritual practice or however you want to approach it. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. And thanks Gary for hosting.
For a while.
Yep.
I think you're spotlighted, so I don't know if we can sign out or not.
Yeah, you can sign. Yeah, you can leave whenever you. I cannot trap you here.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks everyone. I'll go ahead and end the meeting in that case, which will help everybody leave. Gary, I love the standing ovation that you're getting in the back there.
That's for you.
All right, awesome. Everyone have a great day. All right, or evening.
Thanks.
Well.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
MagicFlix is the world's fastest growing online magic learning platform. From classic collections like the Greater Magic Video Library to the best in modern magic, MagicFlix is the only way to learn magic online in today's world. Use the promo code on your screen to start your no obligation free trial today.